Sorry about that blackout. It's very I don't really use StreamYard, so this is me going live. Power of StreamYard. Appreciate anyone or everyone that's tuning in real quick. I had to hop on real quick because I was dealing with was out and about and I was listening to all the fan channels and it seems to me that a lot of times, and it's good that it's utilized for this, but it seems to me that a lot of times it's the fan channels are um, therapy sessions, and they deservedly should be because I know that myself included, I tend to get some type of solace. I tend to get some type of relief, some type of uh, actual belief that things are going well if I get to watch my Liverpool play. And if they do play well, it helps the mental, of course. But it seems like sometimes we're so stuck in a lot of different things of not being able to properly compartmentalize our feelings, reality, the things that we don't know, like the behind the scenes things, um, all these different levels of it tend to sometimes get that's the dog. Again, this is improv, so you keep in mind. Uh, but but yeah, it seems to be that sometimes we get kind of uh, sidetracked. I guess you could say is the best word for it. We don't understand exactly what it is that we're necessarily doing. Um, I would love to have a conversation. Love to have. I know that the people that do subscribe and the people that do watch or do contribute tend to be really knowledgeable people that I appreciate hearing their opinions from. I can't say that for everyone. I definitely can't say that for everyone. However, as I read, I will give you time to elaborate, to basically say what it is that you have to say as much as I can, you know. And yeah, big up the Baz, big up the K. Um, these are true Reds in my mind, in my heart, because as again, you have to be honest when it comes to a lot of times people forget that you will never walk alone means supporting your Reds, supporting them in all of their endeavors, and I appreciate that completely. Um, what I'm going to see about doing here also is I'll put the um, I know I have a few hours left in the day for people over in England, but what I wanted to really get into it was because sometimes sometimes I do need to become a psychologist or a therapist, if anything. It seems like because sometimes when you're dealing with a lot of different emotions and you're dealing with a lot of different emotions coming from people that you respect, people for the most part that you really do care about, that you really do genuinely like, and that's often where you've come into that conundrum of not being able to sometimes not always being able to sometimes have that that fire, the amount of joy that you need. So yeah, let me just get my camera all situated here. So yeah, so I think that like a lot of times you have you have situations where we do need to talk. We do need to talk it out. We do need to come into sometimes realizations that um, a lot of what we do know and what we do hear is propagated from agents, from LFC, from fan channels, from people that sometimes don't necessarily sometimes have our best interests in mind and sometimes don't. Sometimes it's all about money. Sometimes it's all about clicks. Sometimes it's all about things that we don't necessarily get a chance to do. And this isn't my first live stream, but I definitely want it to be a recurring thing in the sense of these therapy sessions, I guess you could say, because sometimes you feel like you have to vent. You definitely have to vent. So, what I'd like to begin with is I'm going to pull up some things over here on my chart. What I'd like to begin with is that uh, I think that like what Bejan Reds TV and by the way, it all the people in the chat or the channels that are being listed on the chat, please subscribe to them. Please do the exact same thing I always try to say, which is subscribe, like, share. Those three things, SLS. If you can keep those balanced in your life, you'll have everything that you have to do. And as Bejan Reds TV is saying, I agree. Uh, it's often hard to hear people go on and on. You can hear their frustrations come out, and we're just what a week or so into the actual you know summer session, I guess you call it, the summer window, and we've already gotten possibly one of our biggest acquisitions that we're going to target this summer over the line. I think McAllister is a extremely talented player. I think that I've heard on different channels by some people that I truly respect, undermining and underscoring his importance on that Argentinian team, his importance on the Brighton squad. I think that you do a disservice and you're being disingenuous when you try to like fit things to a narrative to help your agenda along. But I definitely wanted to say that we have some big things going on, and I have a guest that wants to join. I appreciate it. Quasi Bold.
Hey, what's going on, brother?
What's up, brother?
I appreciate you having me.
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate you hopping on. I was saying earlier that I really wanted to start doing these therapy sessions more often. I love and Bejan Pops, who I respect Bejan Pops like immensely, because he knows his history. He knows he's able to like spit out some real facts, and
Right.
and I appreciate the dialogue, because sometimes to get to a place you have to kind of go back and forth a little bit with someone before you can actually get to that final destination. But I don't know if you were hearing what I said earlier, and what I was referencing was, and I'd love to get your take on it. Is it seems that sometimes with these therapy sessions, I guess that we have, it seems like on a lot of these channels, it seems like the frustration boils to such a fervor pitch that we end up not saying true facts, but we mix them in with our own feelings. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that, Quasi?
I mean, most of the anger out there, 90% of them is personal feelings.
Mhm.
Because why are we telling somebody to do something that they don't want to do?
Right.
You see what I mean? So that's why a
Mhm.
lot of times the frustration is like, why are you mad? You have no control about it. And if you want to have a control about it, stop talking about Liverpool, stop watching Liverpool, stop buying Liverpool brands, stop anything that has to do with Liverpool. If you can do that and get 20 million people to follow suit, trust me, you'll
Yeah.
make a change. But if not, then you are choosing to let the manager and the owners to do what they do best. And when it
Yeah.
fails, they will find out the
Yeah.
harsh way.
It's like, so you're a business owner,
Mhm.
and you have multiple businesses. It would be like if I was, I know that you do sports, not sports therapy, but
Fitness, yeah.
sports, rehab and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Physical therapy, right? Is
Mhm.
it that, or
I
exactly
do
that one?
fitness, yeah, for mostly on the fitness side, yeah, and some rehab too, but not
Okay.
physical therapy, yeah.
So if it was similar to me coming to you saying, you know what, I'm not I'm not really accepting. I'm not really interested, or not as interested. I'm disappointed
Hmm.
in the results you're getting, or they're not up to the expectations of my own of what I would like to see the results to the people that come to your service,
Hmm.
and then me saying you should sell your business. you know, could you imagine that?
You know, the crazy thing is, I guess sometimes you get clients who tell you, oh, I want to do this, I want to have this outcome. And then when you put them through the process to get the outcome, they're like, no, 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 that's not what I want this.
Right.
Then I'm like, if you know, you already know what to do, then why are you here spending all this money?
Yes. Yes.
I
Often
mean,
that's often the case, right?
exactly. Yes, it's okay to, voice some concern, some frustration. And that's why what they call consultation is there for.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then you are trusting the person you're spending the money on to do the job. If they don't, then you go to somebody else. I mean,
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing about it is like, look, I'm not saying that people should just go to another club or support another club or anything
right,
like that. If anything, I'm saying, like if anything, it's sometimes frustrating because there's so many complexities in
right.
the process of what we're dealing with. And
Hmm.
often we don't want to, we have enough on our plates in life in general to have
Yeah.
to deal with a lot of those things, but we don't want to have to deal with, you know, well, how much money can we spend, or what kind of money are we bringing in, or all the complexities again. Like, did we talk to this person's parents, or is there camp on board? Like all these different things. Is there a big enough compensation for the agent? All these things are all complexities that sometimes people don't weigh in to how things get done.
Hmm.
And like, if anything, right now, it seems like it seems like when you deal with these transfers, we look past the fact that there's three entities that take place when you're dealing with transfers, and often it's for some type of our fan base that a good portion of them aren't Americans, but
Hmm.
yet they seem to think sometimes that transfers are like American trades.
Yeah, just walk out door.
Yeah. Whereas, and you just got two owners that agree, yeah, do it, and that's it. And then that player leaves if he wants to or not.
Hmm.
He's packing his bag and on a trip to wherever his new destination is. But that's
Right.
not the case.
No, it's not. You see, one thing that I'll give the fans. Okay, if there's an owner, the owner is saying, I'm going to be custodian of this club and I'm going to do my best to make it work. So you
Right.
expected him to do their job.
Right.
Now, you as a fan, you have to let them do their job, especially when they don't want to bankrupt your club
Yeah.
or hurt your club in the future, right? So I'm gonna say this, since we are doing therapy, a lot of these angry fans are upset because they did not enjoy the journey that we just had 7 years ago, and they spend more time complaining.
Yeah.
And now they are like, oh my God, I didn't enjoy it. Now I want some more, I want some more, I want some more, so that I can enjoy what I missed.
Right.
That's why a lot of the fans are. That's why they want something right now. Like, no, 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 no. I missed out. I missed out. No, you should have been enjoying the journey. The up and downs was part of it.
Right.
That 2020 season was part of the up and downs.
Right.
And yes, we do need new things. But when it comes to, like you said, transfers, there's a lot of complexity before two parties sit down and talk.
Hmm. Hmm.
See, a lot of
Exactly.
people think that the transfer is like, the last day of the transfer, where the last hour there's like 50 transfers that goes in, and they think that that's all the whole transfer is. No, you could call Manchester United and they will tell you, I don't want to talk to you,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
will wait. You know, Nice could say, no, you guys could go talk to him all you want, but we will not talk to you. Okay, you guys have an agreement, so you
Yeah.
see what I mean. The parents
Yeah.
could, some parents could have a factor in it. Agents, especially players that are coming from third party agents. I'm glad that FIFA is trying to abolish those third party agents where there's like six different people owning one player,
Hmm.
and it's very frustrating for clubs because they're like, okay, this is a great player, but we don't want to go through this person, that person, that person, that person. It's very annoying.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
a lot of times people need to be patient. It is frustrating patient, but you have to wait. And two, who told you that we after that player?
Yeah. Yeah, you know that if you realize sometimes, and I don't know if you agree on this or not, but you realize as being I have been an agent in my life, but I haven't been on to a level where I'm dealing with clubs like Liverpool or things like
Right.
those kinds of divisions.
Mhm.
But and big up to the panel to the excuse me to the chat. Thank you for tuning in. One thing I was noticing though is that sometimes you got to realize that people will connect their players with our club even
Mhm.
when we're not talking to them. But yet
Yes.
you'll connect them with a club simply because you want to include them in getting some type of momentum behind you.
Yes.
And I'm going to bring
Mhm.
in Baz as well as to the stream. This is the
Eh,
illustrious LVFC
I
TV.
must say this. Baz. I feel like Baz was attacking me earlier today
Oh wow!
on
Okay,
Jamie's show.
this is a
No,
therapy
you were
session.
attacking me. I'm just gonna say this. That Mbappe comment you said, that was, I think it was personal to me.
I didn't even know. I didn't
I
even know
saw
you
you
had
in there.
anything to do with it, bro. But I did
I
not.
heard you,
I,
man.
I heard it first on Hussam not Don Hussam, the guy from the
Oh,
Middle East.
Yeah.
I
sure.
heard
Yeah.
it there first. I didn't know anything else about anyone else talking about Mbappe. So it wasn't at you, bro. I was thinking,
Nah,
why are you
I'm
thinking
like,
that?
he's taking
I
shot. I feel attacked. This comment was straight because I
I
I,
have a
missed it.
plan.
I don't know if I want to bring it up. It seems like a wound's been hit.
No, I mean,
no,
I have a plan for Mbappe, and Baz was completely shutting it down like this.
oh,
Never
bro,
gonna happen.
do
I'm
you
all ears, bro. I'm
I
all
have a
ears.
plan. I have a plan. Even Jamie agreed on it yesterday on his show yesterday. He brought it up. I'm like, Jamie, this plan is only for Mbappe. Stop bringing that for every other player. This is just straight for Mbappe.
so all right. Well, we can do a quick side tangent to Mbappe because
Mhm.
again we were just talking about how sometimes players tend to get their names involved in the press simply to add hype to their name or to possibly even add more interest or more dollars in the long run to the actual price to actual like what they'll actually get when they get to that new club. So as you guys were talking about, Mbappe's been connected again with our club, looking at I think they're looking at some 200 to 250 million or something like that,
Mhm.
some ridiculous number. Okay, and with that said, one, would you even want Mbappe on this club? Let's just get that out. Let's just rip that band-aid off. Would you want Mbappe at this club?
Yes.
Yes. And
Yes.
a Baz?
Hell yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Hey, you never know, because some people have Mbappe is somewhat of a flamboyant. Not just flamboyant. He's definitely a superstar.
Mhm.
And on this club, can you name really one, you know, you know, big stratosphere style superstar?
Salah.
Okay,
There you go. Suarez
okay,
was.
and but
Ger-
Salah's a
Ger-
different take on that, and maybe it's also because like he's very humble because of his Muslim background. So like it's not like he's out partying or doing things such as like living that flamboyant life. I'm not saying Mbappe is, but I'm just saying that you don't have that Neymar style of like flamboyance. You don't have like the
but
Ronaldinho style flamboyance.
Frogman, those
Yeah,
are just the media. Because if everything was equal, Salah should be in that level of,
absolutely,
what I mean? We're not saying that
absolutely,
he's at the same skill level or whatever, but if everything was equal, because if you go to the Middle East, Salah is as popular as Messi.
absolutely,
You see what I
absolutely.
mean? So, but Gerard also the same thing, but because Gerard was more on the English media side, so he was not getting the love from the other side of the European, the style
Hmm.
of how he plays. But then when you go to players like Iniesta, Xavi, or even Zidane, they were like, "That's the guy we want."
Hmm.
You see what
Hmm.
I mean? The idea is also preference. Like right
Yeah.
now, everybody, oh, Neymar, Neymar, Neymar. I would never have Neymar in my team.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So if
Me
Neymar,
neither.
so let's say Neymar was able to come as a big star,
I won't.
um, you would say no. But
I'll say no.
if Mbappe came, you would say
I'll take Mbappe. And It has
even
nothing to.
though it seems like that Mbappe seems to bring a lot more. I won't say headache, but a lot more of
It's not him. It's not him. It's the
control
same
that he
thing.
brings.
It's the same thing. Pogba. Some of what Pogba was bringing, had nothing to do with him. It was just the media using his lifestyle, his vibes against him. You know, Mbappe. A lot of people are accusing him of him being a brat at PSG. Tell me a superstar at that level who's not a brat, right?
Well, but then again, to your point, Mo Salah. I don't think Mo Salah's a brat.
No, Mo Salah's not a brat, but a lot of times people try to make him seem like he's like that. Look at how calm he has to be before people be like, okay, let's leave him alone. The only time they attack him is, oh, he's just start padding, right? Mbappe is just the vibe that comes with him. And there's also agendas against Mbappe. If you are Messi, Juno, you're not going to be saying anything nice about Mbappe. If you're a Neymar journalist, you're not going to be saying nice things about Mbappe.
Well,
if you are Ronaldo journalist, you're not going to say anything nice about it. You know
great point. And that's something that, and I saw, because I'm a friend of Lawrence McKenna, and and he had a cast where he said something that was very telling, in that, you know, he wants to say certain things, but he also knows that if you say certain things, you don't get access to these players. You don't get access to these clubs, you know, and that's a difficult thing. Coming from a standpoint of someone that I did go to school of journalism, so I understand the fact of you want to have leads, you want to have your connections and everything else, but it is difficult when you know that those leads or those connections can be cut off just because you give negative press, you know.
Right.
I mean, we saw what Klopp did to the one reporter, and it ended up being he didn't even say it, apparently. Wasn't even him that said those statements, but yet he got the backlash from saying those kinds of statements. Gene Gray asked a great question. Do you think Mbappe will come and be a calm team player, or do you think he'd come and put noses out of joint, in her words? And what do you think about that, Baz?
Do you know something? You know how Trent Alexander-Arnold, he's quite grounded and his mum's got his life. I think it's similar with Mbappe, you know, with his mum.
Yep.
So I don't know. I mean, like if we say, for example, we had sold Salah, yeah. Let's just say the Saudis made a bid, we sold him. The right side needs covering. We've got the money to spend on Mbappe. I think if you have Mbappe on his own in the summer, let's just say we signed him in the summer and stuff like that, yeah, and just our average other players and that.
Right. I
think he does a job, you know. I think he does a job. But I think for probably the first few years of his contracts, you know, we signed him on a 5-year contract, hypothetically. I think maybe later on, depending on what goes on with the team, if we're conceding goals or whatever, then he might just maybe make a little noise, like maybe what an Ibu is doing at the moment. You know, we need this, we need that. I don't think he's going to start refusing and, you know, chucking his teddies out the cot sort of thing. You know what I mean? Because if his mum is actually a Liverpool fan, his mum will just like uppercut him, innit? And say, yo.
Yeah. I would hope so. Yeah. Give him a smack in the back of the head and be like, get your act in order.
And this is the thing too, people don't look at club's culture. It's so important that people don't pay attention to. You see what I mean?
Right.
Mbappe wants to go to Madrid because he will be grounded in Madrid. You're not going to be messing around Madrid. They will ship you out. PSG is like it's a fraternity party house. That's why they always have issues. They couldn't look at all the great players that went there and they couldn't win the Champions League.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Right.
Liverpool, the reason why a lot of times people say, players like Mbappe or Neymar will not come to Liverpool is because of the structure that we have set. We are strict. Klopp is not going to allow Mbappe to fool around. The owners are not going to give him that perimeter for him to fool around. Now that comes to, Mbappe will be free enough to do whatever he wants. Because if he's not comfortable, he doesn't want to stay there. He wants to leave. That's why I'm saying Neymar will not even feel comfortable at Liverpool because everybody's going to be looking at him like, dude, what are you doing?
Well,
That
that's the
stadium.
thing about it. Yeah, okay, but go ahead, Baz.
Sorry, no, I was just going to add on what Quasi's saying. That stadium will know. You know what I mean? Might be a small stadium compared to maybe your Tottenhams and your Manchester United in terms of like the building. But if you've done something during the week that's not football related, but and you come and you play on that pitch, those fans will let you know about it. So
Certainly.
it will make it will make someone like him very uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at Suarez. Look at
Yeah.
Suarez. When Suarez was misbehaving, the fans were working with him. But when he did that thing with Evra, he knew he wasn't. He didn't. He wanted to leave. Eventually, he outcast himself.
Right.
And look, when he came back, he had to play out of his skin to get the love back. And even then, some of the fans were like, "Nah, we done with him. He got to go."
But you could argue that one of the differences between Neymar and Mbappe, for instance, is that Neymar has won pretty much everything. I understand that Mbappe's won some great titles himself, some great accolades himself. But in club, and I'm just speaking club life. Neymar has won a lot of different things, so it's a little bit different atmosphere when you're taking a player on. We often go with this situation with Kane, for instance, and is he ambitious or does he lack ambition or anything like that? It's a difference. Mbappe and Neymar's won stuff with Barcelona. So when it comes to trying to say, hey, you've got to knuckle down in practice, or you've got to sacrifice this or sacrifice that for the greater good of the team, your attitude or your approach is a little bit different than someone that hasn't already achieved those accolades that you have, in my opinion. So
I'm a disagree with this because if Ronaldo and Messi in their year 13 still training hard, playing, want to still win. Even Messi say, I'm winning everything I want to win, but still he wants to come to MLS and still win. Neymar, what kind of excuse do you have?
Again, it goes to lifestyle too, and this is someone that
and that's what I'm
live
saying.
a pretty luxurious or a little flamboyant lifestyle myself. It's one of those things where
the idea is it's okay. I don't disagree. I don't say don't, but the thing is, there's time for party and there's time to do business.
Okay.
Your job is to play football and enjoy everything that comes with it. But if you misconstrue which one is what, then what are you doing? Because Neymar, you haven't won anything. Let's be honest, he hasn't. The only thing he won is that on the people could say on the back of Messi.
Right. Well, agreed. But I mean, but they've won things with Suarez. They've won things. He's had a tremendous amount of talent around him to help him get over the line.
He had a one good year where they won everything, and then he moved to PSG. Messi has won everything 3 times. Mm-hmm. If you want to be the best in the world, the thing is, it's not just winning because, hey, Gini has won everything there needs to win in the English side.
Right.
But when it comes to levels of people like Neymar with the skill that Neymar has, Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, Messi, those type of players, it's not just, yesterday on End Show, we were talking about God status. Neymar never reached that status because of his lifestyle. Ronaldinho gave us 3 years and we still talk to him. We still talk like he was there for 20 years. Imagine if he had given us 5 of those 3 years. You see what I mean?
Well,
there are certain players that you look at them, you'll be like, you can't argue against. It's very hard to argue against.
And I understand that. And Baz, I want to hear your opinion on this point or this take. Then, with that, sometimes with Neymar and Mbappe, at least Neymar has transitioned to La Liga and gone on to go to play into the French league, and now is at a stage of his life where he'll probably be able to choose or pick and choose somewhat where he wants to go on to the next level or next stage of his life, football life, that is. But with Mbappe has always had the pleasures and comforts of playing in his home country, having home support. The Parisians love Parisians. Let's just get it straight. Despite the fact that they might not necessarily always covet the places, certain areas of Paris that some of these players come from, still all the same, when you reach these levels, they definitely praise you and give you comfort to know where that they have your back. Do you believe that Mbappe will be able to make that transition because Liverpool fans, we can be pretty quick to say this player needs to step it up or he needs to go or he's a flop and this and that. Do you believe that Mbappe will be able to truly flourish if he does come and not hit the ground running or doesn't automatically adjust to a system, let's say like in a Liverpool or even in a Real Madrid situation? Do you think that he'll be able to handle that?
Yeah, I think so. Look, he's a professional in it, really. All right, fine. I mean, he started at Monaco. He hasn't left France for sure, but he's still very young. Do you know what I mean? So his next move, whether it be in England or whether it would be in Spain or even Italy, wherever he chooses to go, I think he will. I think he'll be okay. And I think someone like him, he's got people around him that actually care about him. Sometimes you have to look at some of the entourages of some players, you know what I mean?
Very true.
Mm-hmm.
So personally, I think, like I said, I brought up that thing with his mum earlier on. Yeah, there's that, there's rumors or whatever, like his mum is actually a Liverpool fan. I think for him to actually bring his mum up in something like that, do you know what I mean? Or anything really, it shows the kind of people he has around. So I think irrespectively, whether he goes to, let's just say he goes to Spain at Real Madrid, I think when he goes, he'll go with the mindset that he's ready to take that next step. You know what I mean? Yeah, initially he'll go down there and, it's very difficult unless you're Haaland, you know what I mean? Like some robotic madness, yeah. You know what I mean? You ain't going to score like over 50 odd goals in your first season. But I think he will go to either a Spain or England, with the idea. And most importantly, I think he'll be more willing to learn as well. I think he's that kind of player where if you look at a Neymar at his age or an Mbappe, at that age, you look at them two and they're both different personalities. One's a bit more flamboyant that just wants to party or maybe just makes a lot of money to support his family back home and his ways. Mbappe is just more of that guy that you can tell he wants to develop. So I think wherever he goes, he's gonna, I think his mindset will be brilliant. I think he will go to any of the clubs or any of these countries and he'll settle in fine. And if he doesn't, I'm sure he'll have the right people around him and will improve the next season. Do you know what I mean? I think he's got everything, that boy. I really think he's got everything from his talent. Praise. Yeah, no, honestly, I'm not just saying it because of obviously the half French side of me and how I love off Mbappe, but honestly, I think I'm just thinking about that World Cup with Argentina when we're doing the Savage ends, the World Cup final. Yeah, honestly, I think honestly, I rate him that high, and I think what, if he goes to the right club, which will probably be, I think he'll probably end up at Real Madrid next. Bro, he's gonna win everything, man.
The thing is, Mbappe also it's not just being in the right place. The coach, the manager has to be somebody he respects.
Yeah,
because Mbappe is not a finished article, far from it, and that's why for me I'll get worried for him because I'm like, bro. And I know people are going to be like, what? It came a time Mbappe in the final third and Rashford at the final third. You couldn't tell the difference.
Mm-hmm. True.
You see what I mean? Mbappe, great. Levels above Rashford. But when it came to the final third, it was like, bro, calm down. It's like he blasted the ball. But in the World Cup, there was 2 goals that he scored that I was like, wow, this guy has arrived. And if he can do that consistently, it's over.
And so this is something that was brought up on I believe it was on En's show, and we got into a little bit back and forth. What do you feel is the importance of a coach's relationship with a player in them making the transition to your club and their time at the club? What is the relationship you want to see from your manager with those types of players? With a Mbappe, let's say. What kind of relationship do you want to see from Klopp to Mbappe?
Respect. That's it.
Okay.
Respect. They don't have to be best friends. And a player like Mbappe, you have to build a team around him.
Okay.
You have to build a system where it encompasses his greatness. Same way we did for Trent, we did for Salah, Mane. Some of our Robo had to fight himself out of it. Some of our players had to fight themselves out of it. Bobby, we could say that. So for somebody like Mbappe, Klopp will have to go back to the drawing board and say, this is my system, but this is how I want to build it so that Mbappe it shows more of Mbappe's greatness. Because the guy, what are you going to tell him? He's already great. It's like how you coach Messi.
Yeah, yeah. But that's the thing about it is that, we often don't, when you have a relationship like a Klopp, his relationship, for instance, with Lewandowski openly said that Jurgen played a father figure, especially since he lost his father so early in his life. Jurgen played a father figure in his life, and he accepted that role. And by him accepting that role, he was able to flourish and take the type of introspection, the type of directions that Klopp gave him in a different manner, than normally you do with let's say your boss, in essence, And when you're dealing with possibly Mbappe doesn't have a boss. Even when it comes to his time in PSG with the money and the immense enormity of that club, it seems like he pretty much dictates when he wants to play, when he wants to show up for practice. I mean, it's like that seems, and he has a lot of say with different ways and different things that go on in that club. That's not going to necessarily be the case at a Liverpool, or might not even be the case at a Real Madrid for him. You think he can make that adjustment?
Anywhere he goes, it's not going to be the case. There's maybe 4 teams that he goes that it's not going to be the case, and he will have to deal with that. And if he doesn't, he's going to be free falling so fast. Just like Pogba, it's just going to be, the years are going to go by so fast, he's not going to be able to realize it, you see? So by him, just like Basil said, he is grounded because of his family background, his entourage background. The same thing, he has the same thing like LeBron. And funny thing, that's his mentor, right? So when he comes to a team like Liverpool or City, or even, I won't say Manchester United because they are chaotic right now, but if Ferguson was there, that's the perfect match.
It's true.
He goes to Madrid. Perez is not going to allow you to act up. You know what I mean? So if he wants to be great, he will have to respect coaches like Pep, Klopp, and even Ten Hag. I even throw Ten Hag in there because he's an up and coming, great personality. But Klopp and Pep are a whole level, and you have to respect him. Now, if he comes to Liverpool and Klopp is not that dude that he was expecting, then I could see the friction. Because the thing is, yes, we can blame the owners all we want, but is the manager also part of the problem? You see what I mean?
So with that said, let's a good segue into transfers and how we get these transfer dollars and everything else. I know that a lot of people are so frustrated with FSG and the way that they go about their business. I know that quite often we hear the sell to buy concept, which I don't believe is actually what we're doing any longer, to be honest with you. If you look at the way that we've been really going about things, I don't really believe that our it's a sell to buy mainstay any longer. It's because we're often like, it's either a plus or a minus when it comes to the simple net spend of what we deal with. And then, but when we look at these things, and since we're talking about PSG, when we look at these things that we talk about, isn't it ironic that whenever we reference things, we always reference it, and I know because City is someone that we're chasing, but when we reference things, we always reference City. Often now, occasionally, we're even mentioning Arsenal, Manchester United in the folds. But when it comes to a lot of the big name talents that we're looking to acquire, City has a different. How can I put this? City has a different ability to sign these players than we do at Liverpool, for say. And what I mean by that is they certainly have, obviously the riches. They're much more, they have a great deal of more wealth involved in them. And let's be honest, and this is something that we can definitely say, if FFP was actually being applied, we would not see this dominance by City possibly in this league. But because FFP isn't really being strictly applied, we're now watching a City club that is in the running to spend $200 million on 2 players. And that's something of strange to say, but it's something that is easily done by a club like City and the circumstances that they have. So if you look at it, City's their top 10 would be our top 5. That's what's crazy about it. Their top 10 would be in relation to our top 5 transfers. But yet we all get frustrated and angry because we're not doing these things. But yet FSG seems to, and you're a big Edwards fan, Quasi, we seem to definitely take more precise steps in trying to find gems than it is trying to find big names that have big price tags associated with them. Is that bad? It seems like you're getting a little bit is that something that makes you frustrated, or is that something that makes you disappointed in the club?
Look, I'm just pissed off, man. The fact that we're a lot bigger than a lot of these clubs, yeah. And we still, even up to this day, can barely spend money. You go into 4 competitions, only last the year before last, and you don't have no money to buy players. It's really annoying. I'm just fed up of it. I mean, I've been in Liverpool sport for a very long time. You know what I mean? I know there's people who've been in sports longer than me, but I just find it in this time, in this day and age where where of the last few years we've been competing, we've been the best or one of the best. We're struggling, and it's not even that. It's the fact that you know what? Honestly, I'm so fed up of saying it, man. Really, so fed up of saying it. It's just, how is this even possible? How's it even possible? If we had all the money in the world, all right, let's just say we were not all the money in the world. Let's just say we were around the Man City level, yeah, or just slightly below. Everyone comes to Liverpool. It's as simple as that, because of the badge, the tradition, the everything. Everyone now is going to City because they're fresh, they're winning things and stuff like that. They're this new kid on the block that we don't know how long they're staying for, but they're doing what they're doing. It's very frustrating. It's very frustrating. Liverpool certainly we can attract the players, but we don't act like we're a big club anymore. We were a few years ago when we won the title, we were the big club. It was as simple as that. But yet we can't spend money. It's very frustrating. There was a point to this, but as I've been talking, it's just gone. But I am just frustrated. I am really frustrated with it all.
That's what frustration can do. Sometimes it can scramble your brain so that you don't, it brings like a cloud, in front of you to not help you think. But yeah, go ahead. You're saying you wanted to say something, Kwasi.
I was just gonna say, Liverpool process is frustrating. I'm not gonna deny that, but it is a process that 80% of the time it has succeeded. It's been successful. The thing is, I even tweeted something today. Liverpool fans right now have been used to make everybody else go viral or become famous, i.e. the ITKs, the tacticals, content creators and everything. Because right now, all you have to do is post anything about Liverpool, and then woof.
It's true.
You see what I mean? And that also brings too much negativity. You don't want
in the forums. Yeah,
in the forum,
definitely.
exactly. So the thing is, people don't want to take their time to study. They don't want to go research. What it Klopp at this point is on the. Oh, he left. Klopp at this. Klopp at this point is on the. He's on a thread. He can't mess up this summer and come back and tell us what he said last summer. Because then we are gonna be like, bro, what happened?
Sorry, Quasi. Sorry, bro.
I'm here. I'm here too, by the way. I don't know what has happened.
You know what? There was a point to all of this. Sorry, let me just quickly bring it up. You know, we were talking about how, with Edwards and that we were making, some good signings, like some really cheap signings. But that's because we're on a tightrope in it. We've been on a tightrope for so long when we shouldn't have been, where we have to get these players right. I'm not saying I want to be like Man City, spend 50 million on a fullback and it doesn't work out, we can get another one and waste money like that. No, but it was nice when it happened, where we got these players along the line and they worked out, a lot of them. But as I was, that was where it was going to lead to. Whereas now we're a bigger club than what we were. We won a Champions League, won a Premier League, we won these cups. We can't be like this anymore. You know what I mean? We've got to act like the big club.
No, the thing is, I agree with that premise, but there's also a caveat to that. Edward was so good, he was able to break the players in early. And they brought in a lot of young players that Klopp was like, I'm going to keep them for a long time. The problem with that type of business is you have to still take some out, whether you love them or not, and then refresh it.
Right.
What happened with Liverpool is we did not.
Yes, that was
kept them too long. I.e. Keita, Ox, Milner, some of these players.
Right.
You see what I mean? So to me, the problem is not the money. The problem is, are we getting the right players? Because right now, we have to be honest. City is copying Liverpool.
They are. Exactly. That's the reason why I was bringing
back down. They
up.
back down. Yeah, they back down on VVD, Maguire, Kukuyela, and then Rice. This is the team with all the money that everybody talking about. Liverpool should model our business. Some, not you, but a lot of people say, look at City, look at City, look at City. City just buy the players that fits Pep's business. Yeah. Maybe when Pep's leave, they'll go back to spending more money, just trying to keep that winning going. Liverpool situation.
The problems though, Quasi. That's sorry to cut you, but they do fix the problems. You see, like they lost Gundogan, and they obviously on a free, but they've replaced him with Kovacic. They're gonna if Bernardo Silva goes as well, they're gonna replace him. And that might be okay. That's a manager's thing, yeah. But this is the same problem with Liverpool and with Jurgen Klopp. And what you're saying with the sentiments and some of these players should have gone. I mean, whoever offered the captain a 5-year contract, do you know what I mean? Whether it's the owners, whether it's Jurgen Klopp, well, it's likely to be obviously the Jurgen Klopp, I believe, and the owners have just authorized it or whatever. This is our problem, innit? And then it just brings it to the point where, okay, if we're not spending the money, or if it isn't FSG, is it Klopp? It brings that same old boring thing, Jurgen Klopp versus FSG. And
it's a tired narrative. I think it's sometimes that it's just one of those things where, and this is why, again, I tend to get like triggered sometimes when I hear these conversations. And thus the reason for therapy sessions here. And that's because when you hear the FSG or this and that, and you said yourself, one, City and I think even more so when they got Pep involved, has a structured platform that is more like FSG than people want to admit. However, they do obviously have a lot, deeper coffers when it comes to being able to say, okay, you can do it. And yes, Chainsaw, yeah, the link should be in the if you want to hop on, I'll put it again. But if you look at it like FSG is, or cities tend to act a little bit more like FSG than people want to admit. And you're right about this. Bejan Pop said it earlier. We possibly lost a little bit of momentum when we finally won the league, especially. But when we won that, I think it was more when we won that Champions League. Okay.
Yep.
We should have started from there and begin to, slowly but surely put in some pieces to refresh some of the pieces that were starting to come to their sell-by date. And what I've always thought of, though, is that at the same time, to your comment, Baz, I think that team chemistry sometimes gets overlooked. It's a metric that is difficult, is an almost impossible metric to hold. But when you have a real chemistry amongst your team, sometimes it doesn't have to be you have a team of all-stars. You could have a team of just players that fill the role or the role that you need them to play. Yeah. And it's the reason why I think that there's certain players on this club that get brought in or leave the club, and you might not necessarily hear of them again once they leave the club, or you might not have heard of them before they even came to the club, simply because this system, the analytics that we utilize, is able to put players into the right chemistry of a team. And it also takes a big play in, Klopp and his coaches and those other major players. For instance, I'm gonna hit a nerve, I'm sure, but there was a lot of people anger about Milner, okay, and there was also a lot of people's anger towards Adrian getting a contract. Now I can understand, and I'm gonna bring Chainsaw in too as well. I can understand that Adrian is a sensitive topic, but Adrian plays a role that's bigger sometimes than people want to put on. I'm not going to say he's a Milner. I'm not saying that he's actually.
Can't even go there, 12th man. Man, we can get translators.
Therapy. This is supposed to be therapy.
We can get translators, yeah, for a lot less than a slot in the squad. That is all what this guy does.
You know what though? It's more than just translating though, and this is what I mean. And people will say, well, just put him on to be a coach. Just make him a coach then. And it's not that easy to say, especially when you're a player that you believe you have still something left in the tank to contribute. But when you have it's different when you have a big brother telling you, hey, motivating you, telling you need to do this or you need to do that, giving you their experiences, giving you their knowledge and tutelage to help you along the path towards becoming a great player yourself.
Bro, when it comes from your dad, he's got none of that. The goalkeeper's got none of that. He wasn't even a great player. That's the craziest thing. He wasn't even a great player. If he was like, all right, let's just say he was a Thiago. Thiago, I'd probably understand it to a point, yeah. But about a the sentimental stuff, yeah. But Adrian, come on. What's he gonna do?
He's going to bring along some very palatable, moldable players that we have in our youth. Because let's just be honest, he's not playing in any real facilitated role of importance per se on the everyday pitch. In that, like, we're expecting him to come in and for a buy, knock on wood, for Allison if he's unavailable or something like that, or even Kelleher if he's unavailable. That's not his thing. But him being along with the youth playing in some of these smaller, playing in the early portion of maybe the tournaments or playing in these in these roles to help bring them along. Yeah, I think that sometimes players that have lasted as long as he has, you have to give them credit to say, how do you do it? Show me how you're able to be a part of a club where people already say you're too old, or you're not talented enough, or you're not this, you're not that. How is it possible? It's obviously some metric that's being put into it. In Chainsaw, I mean, you might have an opinion on that. I know that.
Before Chainsaw go, I have a question.
I'll be back, by the way.
I have a
Okay, sure.
I have a question. I think Adrian is considered as a homegrown player, right?
I believe so too. Now that he constitutes as a homegrown, I can double check though for that. I have those kinds of stats.
Yeah, double check on that. Please go ahead,
Homegrown
Chainsaw.
stuff,
Thank
man,
you.
is rubbish, mate.
Yeah. Can you hear me first of all?
Yes.
Yeah, you
You're
know.
good. You're commenting good.
Big up.
So big up to all you guys. I
Appreciate
just
it.
want to say, I agree with Baz. Like, what is Adrian doing in our club? Like, how could you give him a contract extension and the possibility of Kelleher leaving? Because Kelleher could potentially leave because he's not getting game time, and he's saying this. No offense, but he's a clown. Like, getting an extension. Like, you have to be honest. We're an elite club, or I think we're an elite club. You can't employ an Adrian as part of your elite club.
Mm-hmm.
We're competing against City. We're not competing against, I don't know, Arsenal. So we have to be serious. We can't just give anyone a contract for just vibes.
Oh, certainly.
No, but there's no reason for him to get an extension other than, speaking Spanish and bringing in the Spanish players in. I don't want to be rude. He might be a nice guy. He probably is a nice guy, but he shouldn't be at our club. And
Okay.
that's just my
Sentiments, isn't it? Isn't that sentiments in some ways?
exactly. There's no ruthlessness, and who's to blame for that? In my opinion, that would be Klopp. And
But the thing is, Klopp said everybody's position is questionable except the goalies.
Even that is bad because a
that's
goalie.
bad.
Because the thing is, as much as Ali was our best player last season, barring Mo Salah and stuff like that, yeah. Once you give a player a big head, I'm not saying Ali can't. Ali's that kind of guy, but then you make him feel too important, and not one player should be guaranteed a start. Not one, even a Gerrard back in the day.
Gerrard might be different, but
yeah, you know what I mean. But just generally speaking, you know what I mean. You, if I was the manager, yeah, it's like, as far as I'm concerned, there's my blackboard. Yeah, show me who wants to be on this. I don't care what you come with, what pedigree you have, and what you did last year or the game before.
exactly.
This is the game.
And one thing about the transfers is, we're moving too slowly. Okay, we've got Mac 10. We got him in. We need 2 more, and I think we might sign 2 more. That's a maybe. But Klopp needs to change the system, and this pre-season is the most important pre-season under Klopp, because when do players get a rest? You get a World Cup, a Euros, Copa America, etc. This summer, you don't have anything. No distractions. Get the players in. Get a new system in. Not just 4-3-3, a 4-2-3-1, or whatever other formations you guys could think of. And embed the new players in now. Don't wait 3 months' time like Fabinho. Embed those players in. We need them now. We don't want Henderson starting the first game. Even Fabinho shouldn't start the first game, in my opinion, of the season.
I'm not going to say that this is not a campaign for Adrian. Let me make sure I get that correct. All right, I'm not on Adrian's books or something like that, and getting like some. It sounds like it possibly, but then again, Adrian, he was a contributing factor in some of the silverware that we have, and that you have to definitely agree on. Okay, but I'm not saying that he's a dire piece that we have to have or something like that. And I actually would have died on that hill a little bit more so for Milner than I would have Adrian. But I just think that sometimes we don't properly put that metric into our evaluations, simply because, one, we're not in in the day-to-days with the club. we don't understand what it is that Klopp is seeing that is apparently so valuable to him that I don't think that Klopp is waiting for Adrian to be like, it's time for me to go. I don't think that that's what he's waiting on, but I do think that Klopp has the tendency to respect players enough to know that and it can go the sentimental route, I understand, but he has enough respect for these players that he wants to have team unity. He wants to have he wants to have a team atmosphere you don't feel like you're always on the line of being like out. Like, I'm not saying that you shouldn't want to have like someone pushing you, but I'm not saying that you want to have someone where it feels like you're being pushed with two hands out the door.
But 12th man. But the thing is, what happened to Taki? Klopp was ruthless with him. What happened to Karius? He was ruthless to him. I know Karius did it in the Champions League final, but Adrian was making mistakes, making us lose trophies as well. Mm-hmm. He's been ruthless to certain players, but certain players he's been too nice to, like Milner, as you mentioned. He wanted Milner to stay. Mm-hmm. Any elite manager would evaluate that situation, give him 1 year to stay as vibes to, embed the new players, and then let him go. Klopp kept him for 3 years too long, in my opinion. So certain players get a good treatment from Klopp, and certain players, they just get axed. Origi's like benched when he should be playing in certain games. And Mark A has a point that goes right to what you're saying, which is a great point. I mean, the treatment of Fab has been really, really questionable, and I understand it. I think what you're trying to say with Taki, I think the reason why Taki went the way he went, and this is going to sound, I don't know how to put this as eloquently as possible, but the language barrier, despite people thinking that it doesn't mean something, I believe that the language barrier does mean something, because you're able to kind of connect and kind of like be able, not saying that he wasn't beloved by his teammates or been able to, but there's a difference of way that if I was speaking Japanese right now, it'd be difficult for us to interact. It'd be difficult for us to be able to like have some camaraderie or anything like that, because we're unable to really converse.
Bro,
and that's important.
I hear what you're saying, man.
Go ahead. All right.
Football is probably the most international sport there is. All right.
Yeah.
I could go. Imagine if I was like a 13-year-old at school, yeah, and I'm in I don't know, say China, yeah. If I was playing on a football pitch, yeah, and I was the furthest person up front, yeah, and I'm doing this, I'm like, at least say the word pass, yeah. It's understandable enough. The team bonding and stuff like that, I get that, yeah. There are liaison officers that help these players, how they settle in and stuff like that. Once they sign in that, people that take care of them. But on the field, bro, where it really matters, language shouldn't be a huge problem. It shouldn't be a problem. Like we talk about Nunes and his problems and stuff like that. But this guy makes all the right runs.
We could have a conversation about Nunes all day. I would love to have that conversation, and I know that it needs to be had. But to push back a little bit, there's a difference when you have to walk around with an interpreter, and a difference when you can act and interact yourself. There's no interpreter on the field, okay? So when it comes to a lot of these things, I understand. Taki, I think, was just simply as Mark A is saying, he wanted to just go a different direction with his career, and it could be, and this is, I would love for everyone's opinion on this, and I wish M. Tarmizi was here too, since he's such an expert on this. But when it comes to let's say an Asian player playing in England, or culturally, and even when it deals with trying to interact with other people, it's a different world. It's a different sense of comfortability that you have every day. I understand the professionals. Each and every one is a professional. Not saying that at all. But you can agree, can't you not? Quasi, you can answer this too. That has some impact in how the level of your game is affected by that. That's what my bottom line is. And I think that once you get comfortable enough that you can we're all comfortable enough to speak English here to give our points and give what we have to say. But if we weren't comfortable with the English language, there might be things and thoughts we have that we want to bring out, but we just don't because we can't interact. And I think that language barrier thing is a factor when it comes to those things culturally.
No,
I mean,
to a point,
heck, even, yeah.
to a point. But even like Bobby, you know, like when Bob, obviously, there's been a lot of Bobby at the minute. You know what I mean, with him leaving and these, you know, autobiographies and stuff like that. Yeah, but even his language, his English ain't that brilliant. You know what I mean? It's like it will get him by, but it's not. You know, when you look at him, he's been at the club for so long. His English should be probably better than mine. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, yeah, do you know what I mean? He does enough, or they do enough, to just get on with it. Do you know what I mean? And I do. I'm not absolutely throwing it back to you in your face, saying that no, it has to. You know what I mean? Doesn't matter. Rah rah rah. There is a point, of course. You know, even day to day things.
Sure.
I get that,
but
that's yeah, go on.
No, not to cut across you. I was just going to say that I agree with you, but there has to be a point when you have to say, okay, well, what is those? There's certain things that are differences. I'm ready for this Nunez debate at all times because Nunez is the language barrier guy for us now, I guess, right? And I've heard a lot of people talk about, you're talking about, for instance, Chainsaw, you're talking about acquisitions. You know, one of the acquisitions that we're starting to look at was the player, I'm going to go blank on his name, but the Uruguayan player that we're looking at, that we're thinking that plays with Nunez actually on the Uruguayan national team. And people are talking about, let's bring him in. And the first things out of their mouth aren't, oh, because he's going to do this, or that for the club. The first thing is pretty much, oh, because he'll help Nunez. Or he'll help Nunez feel like like he has a friend on the club, or those types of things. If the language barrier and those types of things weren't a part of it, then people wouldn't say those comments. Do you agree, Chainsaw?
No,
I agree. I see your point of view on this, but the thing is, football is a universal, you could say, a language, because it's everyone from any part of the world can play it. And if you're a striker from Brazil and the centre back from China, you could still understand each other on the football field. If you know the striker likes to make this run, you don't need to speak the languages. You could the centre back could just kick the ball or lob it straight to the striker, and be like, "Oh, the striker's going to make that run. I know he's going to make that run." Boom, and then the striker scores, and then it's like there's no need for any communication verbally. It's just you understand with training and constantly playing with that player that what that player is going to do. So there's that not telepathic, but like you've already trained yourself to know he's going to do this run, and you do this ball leads to this goal. But off the pitch, you do need a bit of communication between the players, a little bit of bonding. So I understand what you're saying off the pitch, but on the pitch, I think you don't need to speak the same language, in my opinion.
Quasi, I know you're looking to chime in.
One thing that people need to understand is there's a team culture, and that's why a lot of players are comfortable with one team and not with another team.
Right.
And that's one thing that Klopp is very good at. Pep, usually people tolerate him because he's great and he will win you things. So you just keep your mouth shut and you listen, you get trophies. When it comes to Klopp, they look at the videos that they were doing. When it comes to somebody's birthday, they sing all the national anthems. In the team, happy birthday song. Those little things that we've overlooked goes a long way.
They do. I personally think I agree. Yeah.
And if you look at Klopp, ever since he's been there, he buys a player and he tries to get 2 or 3 of that same culture that the player is coming from into the team.
Right.
Salah and Mane, they're both Muslims from Africa.
Right.
They speak the same language. People don't even know that, right? Then they brought Keita in. Bobby has Coutinho, Fab, and Ali. Those little things helps. You see what I mean? The thing with Milner is I understood what the mission is with Milner, because if you're a young player, you coming in and you looking at him and he's running past you, you better take it serious. I don't care how much
Right.
skills you got. You better take
Right.
this job serious. There's a reason why Klopp wanted to keep him, but I understand we need that space. So people overlook those little tangible things. It's very important that fine margins are important. So whatever is going to give you that little boost, you have to utilize it.
Kwasi, would you say, isn't that Klopp's job though? To he creates the atmosphere, but he finds a player from Japan who no one speaks Japanese. Let's assume no one speaks Japanese and follows Japanese culture at LFC. But Klopp's job, he gets paid big bucks to get this Japanese superstar embedded into the team and feel welcomed, and everyone understands that, yeah, we can't speak the language, but we could do small little things
Right.
that you could learn from the Japanese culture. It's Klopp's job to learn what those little things are and embed it into the team so that player fits in and plays the best he can
So
without the language barrier.
let me throw something at you, right? Basketball. Steve Kerr and the Warriors. At one point, he got so frustrated, he told them, "You guys coach yourself." In the game, he did that. And you know why? It's because a lot of times the manager can speak so much. He goes here, he goes over there. So you have to use the leaders of your squad to build that culture. You say, yes, Klopp is the one who designs it, but you need the soldiers to be able to carry it.
Exactly.
Can I just say something quickly?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I just quickly say something on that. Basically, this is how I always see it. Yeah, you've got people who are right at the top. They don't get involved in anything to do with the operation side of things, and they hire all these other people. We always refer ourselves as the institution, this big club, which we are. Okay. Anytime you're signing, then the infrastructure has been wrong then, or it's wrong at the moment, because whoever you're bringing in, I mean, there is a factor to it. Absolutely. Don't get me wrong. I mean, if I was living in like, say in one of the Arab countries now, my English, some people who are educated may understand me, or, I can liaise with them. But Liverpool are at that point where we have multicultural, it's a multicultural thing, pretty much like what it is in London. No matter what you are, everyone will understand. But someone like a Taki, for example, that was a big mistake. I think when they bought Taki, all right, fine. He was in where was he before that? He was in Europe, wasn't he? So I'm pretty sure he had some kind of like, he could speak maybe a bit of German or wherever he was before. Where was he? In Austria, wasn't he?
Yeah, Salzburg, Red Bull.
Salzburg, yeah.
RB, Salzburg.
So I mean, there's people that speak German there. Do you know what I mean? There's like, there are players that have played in Germany there. The Nabbies and stuff like that. There is that bit. But if you are going to bring someone exclusive that has a big problem with language, or we don't, then it's up to the liaison officers or the other people that are above Jurgen Klopp in a sense of infrastructure to put in there for that guy to have a smooth transition. Because when you think about it, even though it's £7.5 million we bought him for, whatever it was, 7.5 million in footballing terms is nothing nowadays, but it's still millions. And then what they could get. Imagine if Taki just came in and just upset that front three and he played in Mo Salah's position, he was better. Do you know how much money that brings in from Asia? It's your responsibility to get them, performing and, and stuff like that. And that's where Liverpool got it wrong. And even like with Nunes, for example, I mean, like, obviously he's from South America, you know what I mean? We've got people like your Bobby Firminos, your Alis and your Fabinhos in the team. Okay.
They don't speak. Okay.
No, they may not.
Often people think just because Brazil's in South America that
I understand that, but there is the broken side to it.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Sorry, no. What it is, because obviously I have quite a few mixtures in my culture, where French is predominantly the thing. Now, if I go to France, okay, they speak pure French there. But if I go to Mauritius, they speak broken French, but it's still enough for the fundamentals, like Chainsaw was saying, and what I was saying earlier on. to understand it. You know, it is a universal thing. You know what I mean? If Fabinho's going to put one through the middle to him, it will be like, Ale is as easy as that, go. You know what I mean? That is easy enough. And then it's up to the team after. When you lose someone, like let's just say if Adrian went and he's a translator or whatever, or Thiago, then you know what I mean? You bring the infrastructure there where he's like, okay, he's not going to be here next season. So what you do now is you bring someone to translate. Look at Pochettino. I remember Pochettino when he was at Southampton, there was a translator there all the time. You know what I mean? Now his English is excellent. And that's him, yeah. I appreciate some people, they develop slower than others. Like Bielsa, for example. Bielsa was at Leeds for God knows how long, but he still had his translator. But
yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like it's one of those. But if you want to succeed,
didn't they say that? Oh, not to cut you off. I was going to ask you for your point though, for clarity. Didn't they also say though that because of his language barrier at Leeds, that could have been one of the reasons why a lot of things broke down the way that they did?
Perhaps, but the thing is, you know, the thing is when Bielsa's on the touchline, yeah, he's got other guys who have spoken to the translators who are telling him, yo, you know what I mean, do this, do that. So he doesn't have to do much. He might just show, you know, he might just start screaming and shouting in you know, whatever language he speaks, yeah. And these guys probably don't have a clue, but they know he's not happy in it. But for you know, on the pitch, it's similar. It's very similar as well because there's different people that can relay these messages. And just one thing as well, and I don't want no one to really have a go at me, all right? But I say it in this way. I want Núñez to succeed. I really do. I promise you that, because I hate it when people do rip him up, especially from the other community. But if he's not willing to, or he's not willing, or he just cannot do the English, yeah, the best thing for him is to move on. Do you know what I mean? It's to make him a better player. You know what I mean? He goes back to, yeah, I don't know, goes to Spain, for example, or goes back to the Portuguese team and stuff like that, yeah. And he has a good career. And you know what? It's like it wasn't meant to be, but we get our money back off him or something, and we just move on from it. You know what I mean? But he has everyone in that team can't just rely on their manager, because if I'm your manager and I'm employing you to a specific role, yeah, you don't just want to do what I tell you. You want to do more. You want to do that and more to get yourself a promotion and stuff like that. It's the same thing with players. You know what I mean? You have to do that kind of stuff. And if you don't have that willingness, then you're not the right people for the team.
And one other thing I want to add is there was a mention of leaders on the pitch. So you have your Hendersons, Van Dijk, and Salah, whoever you want to call a leader in that starting 11. So if it goes from one year to the next year with in regards to the manager,
in one year out the other, they say.
Yeah.
Right.
So and we claim that there's leaders on the pitch in our team. So not only when it comes to a language barrier where a new player might struggle, and it's now Henderson's job to guide that player, even if you can't speak the language, you can give the basics, tips and support for that player, like motivation and so forth. But the thing is, not just language, but the tactics itself. Last season, when things are going wrong, if Klopp is making mistakes with 4-3-3 or just general tactics, where are the leaders to say, don't listen to Klopp, listen to me, change up, switch your tactics. For example, Klopp might say, do this corner this way, but then Van Dijk could go to the player and say, don't do that, inside kick or whatever with a corner, with a set piece, rather than listen to Klopp's ideas. Because these are leaders, they have their own brains, they have intelligence, game knowledge. They should also be able to guide the younger players like Elliot and tell them what to do when Klopp is making clear mistakes with, tactics and instructions. I know it sounds radical for us Liverpool fans.
That is very.
No. It sounds radical.
Does it really? It's not even radical.
Exactly.
Because the thing is, that's what they are. That's what captains are. Generally, they're the managers on the pitch. That's what. And even then, I mean, imagine if like Salah's on the far left and Henderson's on the right here, right next to Jurgen Klopp, or when the ball goes out of play, what do you think they're doing? They're talking, say, yo, he might be telling, you know what you said us to do, Jurgen, yeah, it's not working. Do you think da-da-da-da? And then he'll be like, yeah or no, or try this instead. And then it's his responsibility to have the voice, okay, whether he's a captain or whether he's one of the senior players, to relay that message to the team.
And Baz,
I
Genie
think that
Genie
brings-
did
that's-
this.
that's division.
Genie did this on the game against Barcelona. He was like, he was angry with being benched. Came on and was like, I'm going to do whatever I want to make us win the game, or at least compete in the game.
Mm.
And that's literally an example of a player who said, "Sod it, I'm going to attack. I'm going to score goals," and that's how we won 4-0.
But see, this is the thing that sometimes we think is so easy. Oh, people have to do this, this, this. If me and Baz don't have the same energy, it doesn't matter what 12 man says. We're not gonna fight.
Mm.
You see, but sometimes it might bring, Chainsaw to be the energetic person to bring us together. And then we all speak that language, the same language, without even speaking. Go back and watch when Liverpool was celebrating the Premier League. Taki was standing by himself. Handel is the one who told him, no, come with us. Come stand here.
Mhm.
You are part of this team.
Mhm.
You see what I mean? In football, there's something called audibles. If the coach says something and it's not working, the leader will be like, wait. It could be Van Dijk, it could be the midfielder, Handel, whoever. It could be the striker. Okay, he told us to do this, but this is the problem. So let's do this. And then you go back and tell the manager, this is the reason why we changed this. And then he has to go back with his team, which is the management team, to say, okay, this is what they're seeing. What can we do to fix it? And then they come back. That is called in-game management. You know, people like Milner were very good at it. That's why when Klopp subbed him, if you guys remember the famous Ahmed, and then later on they had it again.
Yeah.
That was what it's all about. You see what I mean? Virgil is also very good at that.
Yes.
He's very, very good at reading the game. But he's frustrating, and see the way he composes himself is very annoying when he's not playing well and he's not playing that thing, right? But the culture of a team is not just the manager, it's the players.
Yeah. It's scary though, man, because
It's
you know
very
when you
scary.
look, when we look now, I mean, like, all right, we've lost Milner, and fine, it was his time to go and stuff like that. He was a brilliant sub and all the rest of it, yeah. But you know, when you lose your big characters, like that's why when I listen to Roy Keane a lot, and yes, him being a ex-Manchester United, I don't like him in that respect. But you know, when he goes on about characters this and that, he's got a huge point. He came from a team that had so many characters. But you see, Liverpool over the years, we've had one or two, but we've been blessed over the last few years with a lot of them. Even on the bench. You know what I mean? When players are not playing, it's like, listen, mate, you know, you could have a Milner there who knows that he's not going to play every game, but he's going to talk to one of the youngers like, look, your time will come, bro. Just chill. You know what I mean? Rah. But you've got the ones on the pitch, and then you've got the ones in the training and stuff like that. When we do eventually lose these, this is another, again, it's scary. That's why I bring that thing of the scariness, because I always say this: once we lose Ali, once Ali retires or he leaves or whatever, we're not going to get a goalkeeper like this again. We're not, and based on what we have currently as owners or whatever, even if you have billionaire owners and that, you won't always get it right.
Manchester United.
There you go, exactly. And it is scary for me. This is why I'm so frustrated right now. I know this is the therapy session, but this is me talking to the AA of all of this. You know what I mean? It's the fact that I worry, because this is the moment, where we haven't been like this. So maybe about 15 years ago, when we were just up and down and just whatever, we didn't have that consistency, that good manager, the infrastructure and stuff that we have now. This is why I'm so adamant we need to do things now. When people say to me, oh, just be patient, you know what I mean? No, don't just be patient, you know what I mean? Because I feel strongly about it. And then if we don't improve now, all it takes is just that little minute where other teams get over you and stuff like that. We're laughing at Arsenal spending 105 million on Declan Rice. But who's to say that this guy is actually going to be the same, is going to be worth the 105? Because no one at this moment is, But he comes in and he does a Van Dijk, for example, just bosses that midfield. No one can get past him, playing in a better team, and they go and win stuff, Everyone's going to say that's money well spent. And that's why I worry about our club, because when we are at this situation where we're slowly sinking, but there is that one bit you can identify where you can put duct tape on it or build a new bit on it, Let's do that. Let's just do that and let's just get on with it.
And Marquez's comment, the squad lacks individuality.
Individuality, sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, my tongue got.
I got your back. I got your back.
Thank you. So he's completely right with that comment, because last season when I was looking at Virgil, I was looking at not Salah but more so Henderson and the other leaders. I was like, you guys aren't stepping up, and that's what my comment was. Is we're following Klopp's tactics, but no one on the pitch was saying change it up, switch it up. See, a couple of seasons ago they were switching it up. They were making those little changes. But
that's confidence. That's related to confidence too. I believe. I believe that like once the confidence, the confidence to look. I can have a boss, and I know that the boss could give me some levity as to what choices and things I can make on the squad, but or on the playing field. But yet, that same boss will hold me accountable if I don't do his structured plan, or if I don't do what it was that he set forth, what we practice all week doing, or whatever it was. And I get that you got to have versatility. I Chainsaw, I understand your point, but I'm just trying to say it. So if there's too much individuality or individualism, and you have players starting to say, do it this way, let's do it that way. If you have like let's say, you have Hendo on the field saying we got to go this way, and you have VVD saying we need to go this way, it would be too destructive in the long run of trying to keep everyone on the same page, understanding those things.
But these are Champions League and Premier League winners. They would nearly won the quad the season before. Yeah, they might be fatigued and so forth, but their confidence should never be low. And if it's low, then you need to start exiting the club. If that's the case, I don't care.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, it's only. I'm just saying it's low because primarily because you listen to these players, these people. They listen. Their families. They're themselves. They hear what the fans are saying. They hear what the chatter is on these talk shows. Despite the fact that people say, "Oh, you shouldn't watch them" or this or that, it somehow filters its way to you one way or another, and it affects you. It affects you. I pause to go, and then I have something a video that I wanted to show you guys. But go ahead.
This is what I was going to say. Two things real quick. Chainsaw, you'll be surprised how human these players are. They are it doesn't matter what they want. It's little things that boost their confidence or drop their confidence, right? They might have won so many. Not all of them have that Kobe Mamba mentality. They build off other people. And then, Baz, I just saw that Melissa Reddy from Sky Sports says Liverpool are not in a rush to decision to build their new squad. That just paraphrasing, but when you get a chance, read it. And I think they have a plan. I think they have a plan, and by September 1, that plan is not done.
I don't mind watching Melissa and how she looks, but nothing. If she's talking about, then
before we get too far off, let me see if I can get this straight. Let me see if I can make it work here. Okay. Let me see. This is like my first time doing this. So, do you remember this when this happened? Yeah, excuse the noiny thing part, but take this down. But do you remember this when Nunez was getting subbed in? You see Klopp's face like what's going on type thing or whatever, trying to figure out what it is that's actually happening there. Look, I'm showing that because of this. There was a quote that I came across that was very interesting. It says on the speaking English portion, it says, we're working on that massively, Klopp said. Nunez, it is understood, has been taking extra lessons in order to get up to speed, but it is fair to say that he is some way behind, for example, like a Luis Diaz, in terms of breaking down the language barrier, okay? I'm bringing up that point because, you saw the bemusement of Klopp when he saw Thiago going over and giving him obviously some type of direction, doing what you just said, Chainsaw. Because I'm sure the Klopp said or had either a coach or him individually go up and say, I want you to go in, I want you to do this, I want you to be here or there. You know how when you see the coaches, they always have that little clipboard or the iPad where they're trying to show you where and what they want you to do tactically. And yet it was Thiago that had to still go over and say something or whatever it was, probably because despite the fact that the person that we endear to have all our best interests of where and how the club goes forward, we still needed Thiago to come over and say, hey, Nunez, you've got this. Or, hey, Nunez, you're going to go here. You're going to explain whatever it was that he wanted to explain. He had to bring in that little extra bit. And I think that is what I mean by the language barrier, is something of a reality. It's not that I'm saying it's going to always hamper him. It's not that I'm saying that, he's going to not be able to overcome that hurdle, But I mean, him playing in
Why does
Portugal,
it have to be a player, though? Sorry to cut you, but why did it have to be a Thiago? Why can't it be another guy in a tracksuit, all right, who's going to be not in a, like taking a space or a slot, in terms of a squad that has to do that? I don't think that was the case anyway, to be fair. I think it was like a meme, like he's just come say, listen, bro, just do what you got to do and just barge Jurgen Klopp out the way as he's walking. Do you know what I mean? That's a joke thing, yeah? But,
right.
I mean, on a level, yeah, if we know someone's like that, it doesn't take that long it doesn't take a lot from a football club to go and hire someone for 6 months to a year to just coach this guy, even, on that in that situation, in a game where a game is, where he can't talk to him, just say, yo, Jurgen Klopp tells this guy, listen, tell him da da da, and that's it. It's embarrassing.
Even though you say that, look, I've seen interpreters tell me something, because not always sometimes words aren't directly correlated to another person's language. So I might say something that means something in English, but it doesn't necessarily have a exact equivalent in that other person's language. And then it also might not even have the same impact of me saying it. And me saying a certain word, if I say, whatever it is, whatever word it is in English that gets you riled up, that word, it might be completely different in a different language or in Spanish, or it might be even a different.
If you're 2-1 down, all right, and you just come back from injury and you're one of those guys that puts the ball into the back of the net, to be a footballer, you don't need that. You don't need that rearing. Your team are down and you need to win that game, or you need to draw. You're not going to need that. But what you can do, man, easily. Imagine if, like, I'm Nunez, for example. You're Jurgen Klopp and Kwasi's the interpreter, and Chainsaw is going to be my strike partner up front, You obviously can't speak to me because my language is different to you, But you're going to tell Kwasi to tell me, listen, I want you to go up there, I want you to just slot the ball. Just all you have to do is just give Chainsaw the chance.
How are you saying that, though? How are you saying that? You don't speak my language. So what you're saying is English. What you're saying is English, but I don't understand it.
No. You know what you want me to do, but you can't speak to me, right? So you're telling my interpreter, who is Kwasi. Kwasi now is going to come to me and say, yo, okay, this is what the manager wants you to do. And I'll be like, yeah, nice one, brother. Okay, cool. So then I get on that pitch now, and I'm giving Chainsaw all the opportunities, and I'll be headbutting him, and getting a red card if he doesn't put one of them in. You know what I mean? I'm doing my bit. But the thing is, for me, that just looks embarrassing. That video, is quite embarrassing to a Liverpool fan. You know what I mean? Some Liverpool fans anyway. But for me, it's because we're a big club, bro. We're a big club. If we have these problems, these are teething problems. It can happen. You go and buy.
No, and I get that. I'm not saying it. Yeah, I'm not saying it shouldn't be something that we rectify. But I am saying that conversation is all well and good on the sidelines, possibly. But let's take it a step further. Let's say you and Chainsaw, who just scored, okay, is already on the pitch.
My assist, yeah.
Right, exactly. Your assist, right? You're on the pitch, and now I'm bringing Kwasi on, and now Kwasi doesn't speak the same language as you two. And you want to say, I want you to do this, or I want you to do that, or something. Maybe you want to do what Chainsaw said, and you want him to do something different than the instructions that Klopp just made.
Yeah,
that whole process is a difficult process. That's a longer and a more complex process to get through than it is when you understand someone's language. When you can just simply say, go there or do that.
But 12 man, they train not every day, but every week. And
Yeah.
because I'll train with Kwasi, I'll train with Baz.
Mhm.
Baz could train with Kwasi on a separate day, and those two could practice something new that I wouldn't know. And then
Right.
all Baz has to say is a code word like run, for example, or whatever the code word
Right.
is, duck or whatever. And then Kwasi's like, I understand. And then
Right.
Kwasi
No, and
does
that's
whatever that
yeah.
one thing is, and then Baz then scores a goal because he said a code word on the pitch, and Kwasi's like,
Mhm.
yes, I know what that means. Because that's the whole point of these players training every single week, is so
Sure.
not just the coaches teach them, not just the manager, but them themselves work together and formulate something that they're like, whoa, Baz could dribble past two players and Kwasi could do a through ball out of nowhere. And both of you could work together to figure out something that works
Mhm.
during the match. So you
But
don't need
the
to speak
thing,
the same language.
I mean, the only disagreement that I have with what everybody's saying is these guys, yes, is talking and talking, but a lot of times, have you heard of people with ADD, ADHD? Okay, I hear you
Mhm.
talking, but it's not going in.
Right.
And we have to put it in factor. Thiago is there. Remember, Thiago is at least 10 years older than Nunes. The respect he has for him, especially in
Yep.
that culture, it's so extreme.
Yep.
So Klopp might have told Thiago, tell him to do this, to do that. The interpreter, yeah, you're just an interpreter, but the player telling your own teammate is different from the interpreter telling you.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, but then he just
That's
brings
what
him
I'm
on
trying to get
then.
across.
Bring him on the same time then.
No, you don't need to bring him
No, I
because
mean,
the
yeah.
instructions is
But
does
then,
not need
yeah,
you
but he
to.
works better with that guy. That's the thing, isn't it? You see, in that moment, if you're going to bring someone that is that important for your team because he is a striker, yeah, you need a goal or something like that. And who better to supply him than like a Thiago? You know what I mean?
Sure. Sure.
I know in circumstances, you know, there could be just one sub you've got left, and you
Right.
know what, he's
Right.
just not fully fit. I get all that, yeah, but you know, come on. I mean, I know this is an
No,
interesting
yeah.
conversation, but it's a very frustrating one because it's such a, you know, such a
Uh-huh.
something that it can be fixed, you know, but without having an Adrian that is taking your, you know, that is basically your granddad or your, you know, or even Thiago.
I know.
What happens next year when Thiago's contract finishes? What's Nunes going to do then?
Adrian is
Resign
there
him.
for vibes.
I don't know.
I'll give you an example. Remember Eboué?
Oh yeah, at Arsenal.
Eboué in Arsenal.
Yeah.
Arsenal Wenger kept him because he is the one that kept the whole training room
The whole
together.
team together. Yeah. Some people's
On the
the
field,
glue on teams is
he
important.
was the glue of the team.
Yeah.
People
I
like
can't.
that, it's very essential. People overlook. This is the same thing as when Liverpool brought the throwing coach, and you had people like Steve Nichols who won the league with Liverpool still dissing. That's funny. Wow, no. Farm managers. There are
Fine
certain
margins for
people.
sure.
There are certain people in your group that everybody has their job.
Yeah. Go ahead, James.
Yeah.
You had a question? Oh, sorry.
No
My
question.
fault. Quasi, my fault. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it's very essential that even individual, all of us, we have friends or groups of friends, right?
Mhm.
I guarantee you, each one of your friends has a job. Now, if we taking a road trip, you getting the chips, you driving, you changing the radio stations.
Mhm.
If one of them don't do their job, it's gonna be a long,
It's gonna be a long
It's
drive.
gonna be a long
It's gonna be a
ride.
long ride. Yeah.
But tough man,
Yes.
in secondary school, for example, when a kid comes from a different part of the world, or even a different county or borough, or so forth,
Mhm.
and they don't know what the culture's like with the guys, with the girls, etc., and there might be a language barrier. What's the first thing you normally do if they're normal, decent secondary school kids? Is we bring them in to play like football or basketball or something like a sport, so they feel like they're integrated with us.
Sure. Yeah.
And we might struggle to speak to each other, but if I kick a ball to someone who is like who knows football or plays sports, even if they can't play it, they could still participate and then build that bond from there, from scratch. And that's just high school kids trying to embed someone who can't speak the same language or struggles. whether it's ADHD or a different language, etc. These are grown men at the end of the day.
Right.
They've got an infrastructure that should help them in bed as fast as possible or as soon as possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they are humans, but they have resources. Those resources should help any player to at least adapt to a certain level and perform at a certain level. So we can't use this excuse of language barriers and so forth, because it becomes an excuse for these grown men. There's enough support there for them.
I don't think it's that. I don't. Once I don't think it's a language. And there's a language.
Oh, not language, cultural even.
No, the cultural barrier is real. There's also a thing called, we say stats. There's certain things that stats can quantify.
Yeah.
There's a vibe that
there's
a certain metric that you can quantify. I don't care how old or how mature, how smart you are. You see what I mean? We have to understand. It is, yes, it's easier to have all them to have the same language. It makes it easy. But let's be honest. Have you seen the English team? They all speak the same language, but when they go to tournament, how well do they play? It looks like they never played together before. So that's what I'm saying. There's a cohesion that, yes, it starts with the manager, and then you get the right soldiers to implement it. So for Liverpool, Klopp started it, and then you have the Virgil, you had the Mane, you had the Salah, you have all these guys implement. So when the young kids were coming in, they just have to fit like glove. When you miss one of them, trust me. And that's what Baz is saying. I'm kind of worried that I want Milner going, but at the same time,
you want someone that's going to fill his role.
Exactly.
And what I was going to say to Chainsaw, to answer Chainsaw's statement, fine margins. We can all agree fine margins have been very much the difference in our success. And I know that we're saying that language barriers and they're professionals and this and that, it shouldn't be an excuse and this and that, yada, yada, yada. But I think that sometimes those fine margins are just that. It's just that if we did have a group that was more unified and able to get through some of these things, like certain parts of this squad, I believed in because they had been through the fire before and they were able to come through the fire and succeed, or at least have the experience of what it is to be put into that fire, And I think that like being able to, after the game, whether you drink or not, have a beer or just have a cup of tea or whatever it is that you're drinking, a glass of water with each other, and you're just sitting around and you're actually able to like converse or maybe do what we're doing. We just have these little therapy sessions where you're actually able to vent. You're able to actually get some of this stuff off your chest. That can do a lot for your confidence. That's the primary thing. What I'm trying to get across is that these people are human beings, like you said, Chainsaw. They are human beings. Just so happens that sometimes we put them in such high acclaim that we sometimes, I think, forget that they have families, they have problems, they have issues, they have different things going through their brain that isn't always all about football. And being able to communicate with someone is a major part of being able to release, being able to bridge those problems or those issues or those circumstances in your life.
I completely agree with you. It's just the only thing I'm trying to say is that these people have support mechanisms in place by the club.
Right.
A normal person, when I go to work, when you go to work, etc., we don't always have that support mechanism there.
We don't. You're right.
These players have that. Hence why we kind of elevate them a little bit higher than a normal person. They're still humans. It's still given time to develop. And like Sancho, for example, he was taken off the team for a little bit of time because Ten Hag was like, let him have his time by himself. That's how you manage the situation. If someone doesn't fit in or struggling to fit in,
actually, let me bring some. Sorry to catch you up, but let me bring something up. Remember the Villas-Boas days at Chelsea?
Yeah.
Didier, one of the games, Drogba said, "Don't listen to him. This is what we're gonna do. You already know what to do," and they did exactly that. And that is the one thing that you don't want as a team when your soldiers have taken the power away from you. You know what I mean? That squad, they've been with each other for so long. They knew what to do. They chose not to do it, and they got a whole bunch of managers fired. It kind of sucks for Lampard, right? Karma is But the idea is, yes, you are right. They have more things for them to succeed than a regular person like you and I will. But at the same time, they're still human. The human factor will sneak through. But they just have to do their job.
There's that, and there's also, you know what, footballers have even more powers now than they've ever had.
Facts.
They do.
Facts.
They do.
So, you know, if they're not happy, they can go. Like, just because he's under a 3-4 year contract, Nunes doesn't necessarily mean tomorrow he can say, yo, I want to leave. You know what I mean? And like I said, this players liaison officer is a big thing. It's really a big thing. I mean, these guys take care of everything for these players, from their shopping all the way to sending people to their homes to, like, you know, have to bring them teachers and stuff like that. You know, all emotional stuff. And Liverpool do have that in Nunes. I'm pretty sure next year he's going to do it. He's going to be a lot better for sure. But he has to be. But if there's still this problem by the end of next year, we need to start looking at stuff like that. And again,
there won't be. But go ahead.
Hopefully not.
There won't be. You know why I'm gonna say this? Like, finish your point now. I don't have.
No, go on. That's fine.
What I was gonna say is the retort is this, and this is something because Chainsaw and I were going a little back and forth with the live stream I had about Nunez. I know that, for instance, he wants to see a player that has like he would like to see Nunez become like a player like a Suarez, and do correct me if I'm misquoting you, Chainsaw. But you want to see Nunez develop into a player like a Suarez, and I'm trying to think of the other player that you utilized. Oh, and a Bobby, and have the qualities of a Bobby Firmino. Okay, and I was trying to get across the fact that, like, if anything, the most opportune time for us to get this player was this past season, because one, you know, he's been playing. Suarez is I believe he's retiring from national play actually, and so. But he is a player that has taken Nunez under his wing during the time that he's been at the national team. And then here on this club, you could definitely say that Bobby is infectious with everyone in the sense of being able to you know, bring you in and make you feel part of the club or make you feel part of the squad or you know, it's very infectious. Go ahead, you want to say something?
Let me chop it right there. That's such a key. Remember when Mane got mad at Salah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bobby was the one laughing. I guarantee you, none of the players would have ever done that. There's only a few players who could do what Bobby did, because if it's somebody else, it's a fight.
It's true.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. And that's what I was trying to. That's the main portion of what I was getting across, is that I see that he's going to learn from those influences. But the even bigger part of what I see is this, and this is a stat that I brought up. When he was at Benfica, he scored 14 goals. He went on the next year to score 35. Okay. Now, albeit he scored 15 goals here at Liverpool last season. Okay. However, I'm not saying he's going to go off and score 30 or 35 goals, you know, next season. But I do honestly believe that he will almost double up his scoring tally next year. And this is because we're talking about the second leading scorer on our team. No one really talk about that. I've even heard a lot of times when people have said about where do you play him, where do you play him, where do you play him? You have to play him. I believe you have to just play him either in the left wing or the striker. I would love to see him primarily as a striker, but if you look at the numbers say he should play left wing more than he should play striker.
I don't know. I think someone like him, I think he needs to be the one that he needs to be that target man. I think he's got so much attributes. He's pacey, he's fast, he's got a lot of these things. And I don't mind it once in a while. Do you remember when we played Newcastle back in the day and you had Collymore on the left wing when they put Rush and then Barnes and then Fowler? Everyone was there. They shoved Collymore on the left wing, but because he had like a devil of a left foot, you know, he scored that goal. I don't mind him coming on like the last 10 minutes or something and playing it, but predominantly he has to be a striker, a centre forward. That's where he's a guy that I really believe, and I'm thinking this for next season as well. I'm hoping he's someone that doesn't suffer too much. Yeah, every player does, confidence-wise, yeah, whether you're defender or striker, you suffer. But strikers, if you're not confident, man, you got big problems. But if this guy doesn't get a lot of games next year, especially in a position, that's going to be a worry for me. And I think he needs to play up front where all he has to do is get someone like a McAllister needs to spread a ball or put a through ball in.
You got to be honest, that's going to change. Well, we're talking all this stuff about Nunez now. I know how we pivoted into Nunez. This will be our last part and point of the show. But Nunez, as you're saying, is going to now have a McAllister and hopefully a fit Thiago and a Thiago that can stay fit, okay, and possibly Trent Alexander-Arnold being in a midfield, being more advanced to be able to give him those through balls or give them those passes. But why I was saying that is this: Nunez played 27 games at center forward. He had 8 goals, 2 assists. But at left wing, he played 15 games and had 7 goals and 2 assists. So he's produced more in less games as a left winger than he has than a center forward.
But 12 man, you're blocking Diaz. We have left wingers in our team that need to play as well.
Sure, absolutely.
And the comment about Nunez was obviously a mix of Firmino and Suarez is impossible because they're two great players. I was trying to say that's my ideal 9, someone who has technical ability. So I don't rate Mbappe and Haaland that highly because I don't think they're that technical on the ball. They got the physical attributes, but technically they don't wow me like a Suarez did and when a prime Firmino did. And the other thing is I spoke to my Portuguese friend who's a Benfica fan, and I asked him about Nunez, and he said Nunez was very slow in his first season, but on his second season, he blew up. But he said to me he wasn't the main player for us. He scored the goals, but he wasn't the star of that team. And this is a guy who watched Benfica week in, week out.
Okay.
He mentioned some other player. I can't remember the name anymore. But I was like, wait, he scored 30 plus goals. Surely he's up there as your main, superstar. And we brought him, so I was excited. 65 million.
Mm-hmm.
So Nunez misses that technical ability that I think a Salah needs. Salah needs a technical number 9, in my opinion, to get him more goals than he's already getting now. And that's the problem I have with Nunez, is can he technically get better as a player? Can he control the ball better? Can he link up better than he is currently? He might get you 30 goals, but does that take away from Salah and the other guy on the left wing?
Right. Something quasi. Go ahead.
It's funny. Somebody was when you mentioned Mark and Thiago, I'm like, Liverpool got some weapons. We just need 2 or 3 more. Nunez is missing a Coutinho type. That's the problem. If we get a player with the Coutinho skill, flair, where he could go through little corners, he's going to be a problem. Because we already got Gakpo. Gakpo is the body. Right? We still got Diaz. People are forgetting that there's the Jota. You see what I mean? So
shots are right highly, man.
You see what I'm saying? If we could get a Coutinho player like this Dominic guy, I did my research, i.e. YouTube University. I can see him and Gabri from Celta Vigo. I see why we are late to them. People are saying we are late to them because that is the player that we need, because those 2 players, Dominic and that Gabri, can play midfield or the wing on the right side. Now, if we are looking for Dominic, which to me is like an ox with better skills, because he can shoot, he can pass, he can run, right? Is Elliott going to be going on loan?
I don't think he will.
I don't think he will. I don't think he will. I understand everyone's points and everything, and especially even in the chat here, people talking about XG and such. But yet, you know what's really crazy about it? And I'm the stat guy. I love stats. But when it comes to a lot of this talk about his involvement, and just as you said, he wasn't the main guy. For you not to be the main guy and you score 30 plus goals, 35 goals in a season, that says you're doing something right. You're obviously getting yourself into the right positions. You're obviously being you have enough ability as a striker to know when to use the pace, where to be position wise. It's something that you're talking about. You wanted him to be more like Bobby. I'm talking to Chainsaw.
Where's he got it wrong then? 12th man. I mean, because the thing is, for Liverpool, in essence, yeah, his run and his game has not been bad. It's just his finishing's been bad. So where's he getting it wrong then? If he's in this situation,
I think it's the same thing. Mentally, it's the same thing when it comes to same thing that Klopp told Lewandowski. And again, even though I say Lewandowski, I'm not saying that Nunez is Lewandowski. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is that as a influential coach, you're going to tell your one of your budding star players, hey, you need to just bring it down. You need to just have patience. You need to be able to breathe and focus and block a lot of everything else out of your mind. Because I've seen him sometimes do some incredible strikes. There's that one time, I think he was coming up, he was going on goal. He was alone, and he just, rather than take the ball down and possibly dribble or try to go around the goalie, he just volleyed it, and it was a really good strike. It just didn't go on target the way that we wanted it to go, which is often the case with some, or not often, but some of the cases. Now, I wish I had the graphics to pull up, because I know Chainsaw mentioned something about some of the graphics I brought. There was one that was very complex. Okay, I don't know if you remember it or not. That showed, if you look at Nunez's performances and his production, there's actually in the Premier League, there's no one more involved in their team's attack than Nunez. That's a pretty large statement to say. Then you go and you say, okay, well, let's take it to a world perspective. When I showed that graph, it was more so that he was in the same portion of the graph with Mbappe and Erling Haaland, because he is scoring, but one thing that they do, or he's doing that they're not doing, is he's involving the play. He's getting more involved in passing and doing such. Okay. And I get that he is missing the target too much. That's going to, but with repetition, with the comfortability of the languages, again, I don't like that word, but I mean like the language barrier, and with the ability to kind of get, settled in a new environment, a new cultural environment, because let's not get it twisted. Liverpool is not the same environment as Benfica in Portugal, or his home confines of Europe.
Sorry, 12th man. Is it me, guys, or is it your reception's really?
Am I going in and out? Am I glitching?
Yeah. Can everyone hear him, or is it me?
I can hear him.
I can hear him a little bit.
All right, it's just, for me, it's just a bit glitchy. So go ahead.
No worries. But what I was going to say is that he's had a lot of, despite the fact that he has missed a lot of attempts, or his number of missed big chances is high, and I will not discount that. I also think, though, he's creating chances. And by the fact that he is getting those chances, it's going to make back lines be more cognizant of him, be more cognizant that they have to play and adjust their bring. I've been calling him, the new nickname I'm trying to get go viral is Invasor. Invasor is a racehorse. Now, Klopp called Nunez a racehorse. He said he's a racehorse. And in Uruguay, the greatest or the biggest name of a racehorse are like a secretariat. Okay, their secretariat is Invasor, and that means invader or it means raider. Okay, And that's what I look at him as. I want him to be the invader of that back line. I want him to be so pressed up against it that the one thing that, despite all the misses, I would like from the score, of course, but one thing I wasn't so cognitive of is that I would rather see him do better with his offsides, him being offsides, than his putting the ball in back in net. I think that will come. But what I would like to see him do is if he can start timing those runs better, if he can understand and know when he's going to be getting those through balls or going to be getting those long balls, from Trent or now from a McAllister, I think you're going to really see a difference because he'll be able to utilize his pace. You can't this fact that he has possibly the most pace in the league. You can't just deny that.
You know something. Yeah, a lot of the things you say, right? I think he already has. He's improving a lot. The only thing that I think he needs is a bit more composure in goal, in front of goal. That's all. Every time when I look, I think he does everything pretty much really well. Yeah, it's just when he's in the box, and I know it's gonna come in time where he's gonna make the right decisions. He's just trying to impress too much. He doesn't know what he's going to do. Is he going to square it? Is he going to stick it with his left? Is he going to hit it with his right? Is he going to do a spectacular shot? There's just a lot in his mind. And as a striker, that's just, I can see it, how difficult it is because you're trying to impress. There's a big price tag. You can't speak the language. You can't understand certain things. Will you have more chances? Is there another guy? There's so much in his head. I get all of that. Humans factor. But I just think generally, if he can just calm himself down in front of goal, and just be calm with it, he's going to do just fine. He's going to do just fine because everything else is good. He's got the pace. He's got the power. He's that chaos. You know what I mean? He can play on the left. He can play, forward. He can do everything for the club. And as time goes by, it will work. It will work. It just needs a little bit of composure, I think. And he does that. You know what I mean?
Can I be honest?
I hope.
Regarding Nunes, I don't think he's good enough. He's nowhere near good enough to be a Liverpool player. He's nowhere near good enough to be a top 6 player, top 6 Premier League club.
Wow.
He's not a good enough Champions League
chainsaw.
player.
You want to bring the chainsaw to the end of the
I am going to bring that chainsaw here because that guy's a Europa League player where I see him playing for a Porto or a Sevilla winning the Europa League constantly. He's not a Champions League winning player. He's not going to win the Champions League. I promise you that. We're not going to win the Premier League. I promise you that. Because I had hopes of us winning the Premier League and Champions League last season. Because I thought Nunes would be not Haaland level. That's crazy. But he'll be below that level. He's way below that level. And I'll be honest.
What's his biggest problem, Chainsaw, for you?
For me, I pass him the ball. I expect him to control that ball and use that ball properly, whether he's facing the goal or facing the opposite side. I would want him to turn that ball and not make it look awkward. If you make it look awkward, you're not good enough. What are you doing? You're not a Liverpool player. I'm sorry, I've got high standards now. We won the Premier League, we won the Champions League. That's why I rate Bobby more than him, because Bobby gets the ball. He wasn't good the last 18 months, but at least he could turn properly, smoothly. There's a connection with the ball where I'm like, wow, you're an elite player, or at least you got some talent in those legs. I don't want to see a player touch the ball and it goes 1 yard or 2 yards past him, and then he has to run and chase the ball again. That's a disgrace. What are you doing? And it's not just once; he does it constantly. But he's a Liverpool player, and I'll be biased and defend him.
Sure.
Like not delusional fan, but I'll back him regardless, no matter what. He's our player now. But the truth is, he's not good enough. He's just not good enough.
So 12 man. This 12 man point is kind of poignant because I am in a little pain to hear that statement. But I do appreciate the fact that you show proper red mentality and say he's a red, so I'm going to support him. But I think what it was this point that he said was one point that I've always been stressing. I think often people attest our inabilities last season, especially with our defensive lines, and put so much emphasis on our back line, as not being good enough and people throwing Trent under the bus. No one on the panel doing that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying in general, people throwing Trent or maybe even Robbo or especially VVD getting a lot of the glare, and then also a lot of our midfield having a lot of the burden of our defensive woes. But the tip of the spear is our front line, and when it comes to pressing, that's where it has to be on point. That we have that front line is going to allow for us to keep that ball in our opponent's half. That's why I keep saying he needs to be the ambassador. He needs to be that raider, because by pressing and being the one thing we can all say about Bobby especially was that he was an amazing counter presser. And he was able, and he was so, and he didn't want to hog the ball. It's not like he got the ball. Now it's just, he had that pure striker mentality where he's just going to just, go straight forward like a bull and not look to involve anyone. He was a facilitator as well, and that made his role and his contribution that much more enjoyable and significant, in my opinion. I think you're going to see that in Nunez. I think once you get a familiarity with the system and you understand the press, you understand where your counterparts are going to be in line with you as being the press. Because sometimes it's not all about, was he like pressing the ball tough? It's also about your help being able to take away his options.
12th man, would you say Sturridge press was a good presser?
I would say Sturridge was decent. I think Sturridge was a veteran enough that he knew what it was that he needed to do. He just at times didn't have the same commitment to the press as a Bobby.
But what he had that Bobby did.
Or even having Suarez. Suarez was a great presser as well.
Suarez was a great presser, but Sturridge wasn't a great presser. But on the ball, you know what he was going to do.
Right.
He was going to do a madness on the ball, especially when it comes to striking the ball. He'll get you more goals than Bobby. So you don't have to be a great presser to be part of this Liverpool team. If Sturridge was fit enough and didn't have injuries like he did have, he would have been Klopp's main striker who'll be scoring the goals because technically he was too good. If you remember the way he turns, the way he passes the ball.
But can you say not to cut you off? I was going to ask you though. Can you not say? And I would love to, because I know Baz and Quasi I've watched this club a long time as well as yourself. Could you not say though that Sturridge has definitely a better shot? I'm not going to say that Nunez's shot is on the lines of a Sturridge, but Sturridge has the ability to turn and he could score from outside the box. I don't know Nunez's ability to score outside the box. Okay. But I could say Sturridge has that ability. And that might change your options or your mindsets of like what you do with the ball when you receive it. As in, okay, now I got the ball, I might turn and shoot as if I was a Sturridge. But if I'm a Nunez, I might turn and dribble to the byline to be able to get a pass.
But Sturridge could dribble past players and actually pass a ball with a good through ball, unlike Nunez.
Right. I just think that Sturridge was as Bayesian Pops always does so well, puts it very well. I just think he was a different type of gravy, is well to put. Like
True.
Nunez is. I think what we're getting from Nunez. If you had brought up the comparison, and again, chat panel, please don't roast me on this one. But if you had said, I see Baz. If you had said El Nino and try to make a comparison to El Nino, I would then say, okay, because El Nino was more reliant on his pace. He had ability to dribble, he had ability to shoot. He had all those abilities. But a major factor in El Nino's game was his pace. It's the reason why when he went to Chelsea, he was half the man or half the player he was that he was on Liverpool.
Then I figured it out. All Liverpool have to do is bring Steven G to teach the midfield how to pass the ball to Nunez. Because Steven G figured El Nino perfectly. Same with Suarez.
Mm.
I think it's all about the timing. But when you're looking at Nunez, Chainsaw, at this venture, yes, you are right. But we got Klopp. Klopp have done it before. Lewandowski wasn't as good as he is when he was with Klopp at Dortmund. He was on the bench, frustrated because Barros was always playing ahead of him. But eventually he got it. So this year, let's see what happens. And you're right, he's a Europa striker. And guess what? We are in Europa.
We're in
So he
Europa,
better
so
be
hey,
scoring
he's
the
the
goals.
perfect striker to have at the moment. I can't stress this enough, though. I really think that we all need to just I think next season is going to be obviously a major season for Nunez. It could be the difference with him, finding a real cemented place. But Klopp has said he's a long-term project. On long-term projects, you usually don't give up on them in year two. You know what I mean? You give them a little bit of length to try to get their footing a little bit better. I also know that Paige Pop's got comment for you. But Stevie G also talking about Stevie G also told Klopp, for instance, when it comes to for Curtis Jones, he actually said it in an interview. He was saying it himself that he told Klopp to give Curtis Jones time to develop. He might not be the player that you necessarily want as the mold, but he will develop. And obviously Klopp, took that for what it was. Yeah, he respects Stevie G immensely, and we've seen Curtis Jones develop into that player that we want to see. I think that we will see Nunez develop into that player we want to see. I want to see him be the rebirth of El Nino. I admit that's high. That's high.
High praise,
aspirations. Yeah. That's high expectations. There's a high bar to fit. It also is going to take, for him to reach that, he's going to need a Stevie G type player that can distribute the ball to him. You get someone that's going to be giving him that connection. You get someone that makes that bond, that real connection with him. I think we're going to see a great difference in his numbers.
I was going to say, if we do get those 2-3 midfielders that we need, Liverpool is going to be up there with City.
Yeah.
One thing that we need to say is, yes, we do need the players. Baz is right. It is frustrating just sitting there. You need these players, but you haven't gotten them or made an attempt to get them.
Right.
But if everything goes well, look at the names that
the names we're connected with.
Yeah, the 12 men mentioned that if he has Thiago and McAllister behind him, and not even mention Jota and Gakpo and Salah.
Yeah.
Liverpool is looking palatable. I think let's give them time. Let's calm down. Let's give them time till September 1. If they don't do their job, all hell will break loose.
And understandably so. If it's not on that level, then you know what? Hey, cool. We can all raise our hand and say, okay, we're wrong, or Klopp was wrong, or you can even get to the stages of where people are now, like, oh, Klopp needs to leave or whatever, because obviously he's not resonating with this club any longer, or with these players. But I think that there's a reason why you're seeing what you're seeing in this team towards the end of the season, at least. And that is, you finally had a team that was healthy. You finally had a team that understood the fact that, they understood their roles. They understood where their futures are going to be. They understood the calamities of what they've had to go through before, and now what they have to deal with going forward. You're going to have a major difference, I think. And that's something that I agree completely. I think that we're going to see something out of Nunez. I think, there's a large clamor or rustle of clamor of angst against Hatta not too long ago. There are a lot of people. Oh, okay. I'm glad you raised your hand. Okay.
I'm sorry. I
wasn't trying to call anyone or throw anyone under the bus. I was just saying in general. And you have these players that really, were really like putting some legs forward, or have history of being able to do it before, but yet they just needed confidence, or needed playing time, or they need to get their form back. It's the same thing with Diaz. I've heard some takes on Diaz that are so disrespectful now that I'm just like, yeah, it hurts. It's one of those. I've had some triggers go off, some trap cards go off on that. And again, my comment earlier, I'm not saying that just because he's doing well at left wing that I want to see Nunez play left wing. I want to see him play central. I would like to see him play in that striker position. But whether it's Diaz or like Kwasi was saying, whether it's Hata, whether it's Hakpo, we've got some really talented options. And I even say Salah. I mean, we've got some really talented options on that front line. We're now about to solidify our midfield to a midfield that whenever we talk about starting midfields, most of the people starting midfields with the players that we're either trying to bring in or the players that we already have in, being McAllister, being the one at least for now. It seems like all those players, that's a new midfield starting, and that's taking away from Stefan getting healthy again, or that's taking away from some of these players that Curtis Jones, who finally figured out whatever it was that we needed from him in this system. Now all of a sudden, do these players now all of a sudden get pushed to the back burner, or are we going to allow for them to be able to form with the club? I think it's going to be a very, very interesting next year.
Yeah, you have not to be a Debbie Downer, but I will be the Debbie Downer. Klopp has only has 3 years left. We don't have time for development. That's just a fact. So we get these 3 midfielders in. So Mac 10's one, and then I think Thuram's the other one, and then there's the other guy, the 70 million guy that Kwasi's been watching. Mm-hmm. We get those 3 in, and our midfield sorted relatively. Thiago's going to be injured. That's a fact. Let's not try to pretend that Thiago won't get injured. He will get injured. And our defense needs sorting out. We need a defender. Robertson's lost it. He's not the same Robertson he used to be. Trent is going to go to midfield, so we need a right back anyway in that position. And then we need a centre back because Virgil, again, another player that's lost it, unfortunately. So there's a lot of holes in our team. The midfield can't carry the whole team in one go. But it does help.
Yeah, I don't think the defense, he's not fixing the defense this summer. He's going to fix it next year.
That's a problem. Then we won't win. Then we can't compete against City. Even if we get these 3 midfielders in, we're not competing against City because we'll continue.
I don't think we're actually going to be competing with Man City. Let's be real, right? I think this season, what we're doing is
that's troubling.
We're trying to literally. I don't even know what we're trying to do. We're definitely not competing. Even if we get 3 midfielders in, let's just say we sort out our midfield issues, obviously, we have something in us that we can have those one-off games. Your Manchester Uniteds, your Man City homes and stuff like that. We'll beat them, no problem. I think what it is, all right. We're not in a position anymore to be able to compete. With Jurgen Klopp, he's got maybe 2-3 years, and this team are in the state they are now. There's no point rebuilding, because if you're going to rebuild, what are you going to rebuild to? The reason why I say that, is let's just say he leaves next season, or he leaves in 2 years' time, or whenever his contract finishes. You have De Zerbi who plays in a different way. You're going to buy players in that's going to be there for Jurgen Klopp's tactics. It's not going to be there for De Zerbi's tactics. I think what we do need right now is to patch things up and just try to give. It's not the ideal thing, to have a consistent ways where you're just going up all the time. But right now, it's as simple as this, right? Our issues are midfield. If we can have our midfielders, protect the defenders, and and just control the game and stuff like that. The defenders, they'll do what they've got to do. I think Van Dijk, he has dropped off a bit, absolutely. But you know what? The team hasn't made it easy. The players that were in front of him were giving him, issues, big issues, where he's just literally being exposed all the time. And I just think what we need now is just midfield, and we just need to try to get into that top 4. I don't like the idea of that top 4 and stuff like that. I want to win the league.
Top 5.
Top 4, top 5, whatever. All right. But I don't think we're going to get top 4 next season if we are just going to buy mediocre. if we do maybe get 3 midfielders in, I doubt it. But if we do get 2, at least another 2 in and a right back, then we've got an opportunity to just get top 4. And anything after that, I just don't know, because, you know, everyone's going to be a season older. Like Hendo, he's going to be a season older next year. Thiago, same thing. Van Dijk, same thing. Matip, he might be leaving next year. So, like Kwasi says, next year they'll probably look at addressing the defense. But I mean, realistically, the only thing we can do now is just, you know what I mean, just try not to fall too far behind. That's the thing. We're not going to spend money.
Baz, don't you think that the whole league has fallen off?
I think, to be honest with you, when you look at Arsenal, when you look at Newcastle, particularly, yeah, the last few years it's been Liverpool, Man City, Manchester United trying, Tottenham trying, you know, stuff like that. Yeah, what we've now got is potentially 2 other teams that have stepped into what Liverpool are now. Whether we like it or not, you know, I'm one of them that was just slaying Arsenal all last year. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Nevertheless, they're spending money, right? Whether they bought the right players or they've overspent, it doesn't matter. They're spending money. Yes, they're not building a squad. They're building a team, but they're not building a squad, and that's a potential problem. Yeah, but it's quality. What they've got in their starting lineup, which you could say the same for us when we were winning the league and stuff like that. Our starting 11 was epic, but our bench wasn't so solid. I think if Arsenal do that and then Newcastle slowly get that nice taste of Champions League and, you know what I mean, and stuff like that, they're not going to want to let go of that. And they've got the money to back it as well. In terms of everything else, I mean, Tottenham, they were that team that were doing okay. Nothing spectacular, but they're doing okay. If that manager from Celtic or whoever came in just gets them playing, or just, they just do something, keep Harry Kane or whatever and get Son playing again and stuff like that, they're still not too bad. I just think now it's starting to be, it's going to be a bit more competitive. I really think it will be a bit more competitive. Man City are obviously going to be favourites, but United, they're going to have that, if they do get that ownership in as well, they're going to be a real force anyway. You know what I mean? Because they're always there in the bouts. People talk about them irrespectively, yeah? If they go and get the Qataris and they start buying your Neymars and your this and your that, that's going to make them stronger, all right? It's going to make them stronger. People are going to, I think it's going to be a lot more difficult for Liverpool. That's why when I say, you know what, let's just try to keep up there for now. Yeah, that's all we can do. I think it's going to get more and more difficult.
Brother, this is why. Jump in, Go do it.
So the reason why I asked you that question is because look at City. City has dropped off. City is a 90-point team, and they won the league and still could not hit 90. Arsenal, what was the best point they get? 85.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
No, I hear you. But the thing is, Man City won 3 trophies, irrespective. The 90 points and stuff, they're not as dominant, but they won 3 trophies. The last few years they haven't done that.
But you see, everything felt very well for them.
Mm-hmm.
You see, now Newcastle have to fail 2 teams every week from now on. Can they sustain that? Same with Arsenal.
That's a good point.
The Spurs comment, the 1 game a week for
Chelsea.
Spurs,
I mean, City. There's 2 players that if City gets, I will be worried. But right now they're going to probably lose Mahrez. They lost Gundogan. They're probably going to lose Silva. Kovacic is not Gundogan.
No. Not even close.
I don't think they're going to be playing him. I think he's just going to be a squad player, though. To be fair, I don't see him starting per se.
Yeah, but if you lose Silva, then that means City also has to rebuild. Cool. Yes, they have the great manager, but
City just needs 1 or 2 players to just be
that's
that.
What I'm saying. But that 1 or 2 players, it's not the same players they always had.
Yeah, but they've got an eye for an eye, though. To be fair, innit? Let's be real. They can go and pick the creme of the creme. Right now, if we're creaming for Barella, he will fit their system perfectly. Or even that Vega. They've been linked with that Vega. He fits perfectly. Sure. So if he just gets in there, that's a little tick, and he's not going to cost a lot in it, really.
Personally, the only
Not.
player that I'm worried if they get is that guy from Napoli, the left winger.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
that,
Are they really involved in
Correct,
that?
No, he wants to go to Madrid, but I'm just saying.
Okay.
But right
All
now,
right. This is supposed to be a therapy
City's.
session, not you're not don't get our blood pressure up.
But all I'm trying to say is, there's some teams that have come up.
Right.
Fair. But Liverpool is not off because listen, the defenders can still play till they're 35 and still have a good career. The problem was our midfield, which caused our defenders to be weak.
no,
The
but
same thing happens in the COVID season.
Yeah.
mm,
no, but Kawatsi, on our
Mhm.
COVID season, the main problem was our defense because we didn't have centre backs. So if our centre backs aren't performing next season to a certain standard, because regardless of if we have Iniesta, Xavi, Busquets in front of this back four, if this back four doesn't perform and makes odd mistakes, then momentum from the other teams will carry on, making us lose points.
Can I rebuttal?
Yeah.
When Klopp was putting those midfielders and centre back, that was the problem. When he started trusting
That I agree with.
Nat Phillips and
Everything.
Reese,
Yeah. he
that's
just
when we
didn't trust
started
them.
winning.
Yep.
It
Those
was.
midfielders are his engine.
Albeit, I mean, we could say though that Fabinho's success when we played City that match kind of put it into his mind that, let's rely on those midfielders filling in that gap. But one thing I wanted to retort as well and bring a little promise back is that I believe our counter press again is essential to everything that we've talked about. And the counter press, just as you said, like whether we have players that can actually orchestrate those counter presses, and be able to make them effective, that alone will create whatever it is that we need for the midfield. We'll create whatever we need for that back line to have the freedom to do what they were doing in those little runs that we had. And I think that like we don't look at those things as we don't bring that off. I don't hear too many people bring up counter press too often. I don't hear too many people stress. It's like if it was a chalkboard being in the locker room, and the number one thing on that chalkboard would be counter press. That would be the first thing that he would try, the Klopp would have implemented. He says it time and time again when people ask him about his system, about how he wants to bring about his system. And I'll admit that a counter pressing system does run players out. I will understand that it does push players to the limits and sometimes exerts them so much that they get injured or they just don't have what it takes to continue to drive at that exceptional level that we're used to seeing. All that said and done, we can say that Klopp has started to utilize rotation. He was a big proponent about trying to get 5 subs for forever, right? And then when he finally got it, he didn't even use them. He still stuck with 3 at times, which was frustrating. But all the same, now you tend to see him use his full 5 subs in almost every match. And that alone is going to be able to, bring some legs to the midfield, possibly bring some legs to that front line. And my last point is that, we picked on, Baz was picking on VVD as falling off and not being able to be at the exceptional level he was always been at. But at the very same time,
said that.
Well, you said something.
I said that as well.
Okay. I wanted to make. I don't want to misquote you. Right. But,
I love Van Dijk, bruvs.
Okay. Because I was going to say that VVD showed, I think personally, he showed a resurgence when we went to a back 3, and when we had him at a back 3, that puts even more emphasis or more on his shoulders to hold down that back line than a back 4 does. So like, I get that a lot of what we're looking at is tangent to us being a better counter pressing team. That's all I'm trying to get across.
One thing I would say is the most important thing that kept us level with City in title races and so forth was the fear before balls kicked. So when players line up, you could have all the best midfielders in the history of football lining up for Liverpool next week.
Mhm.
But if Luton Town sees Liverpool and say, last season teams actually got at these guys. These guys aren't invincible. You can't score against these guys. Klopp has to rebuild that fear factor back to the club. And guess what? Europa League doesn't help bring that fear factor back. You guys are underestimating how much impact the Europa League will have negatively on our progression next season. I know Kwasi will disagree. I see he's disagreeing right now. But we don't. Liverpool at the moment, at the current state, we're just Mac 10. We don't have the fear factor. Teams aren't afraid to play us, and Klopp has to bring back that fear next season, and he has to bring it fast.
That's him, Hence. That is him.
It is that
big up, Ben.
chainsaw, mate. It's
that chainsaw. That's the man.
Chainsaw coming out and just bring that
But
chainsaw.
coming out full of petrol in his chainsaw, man, just slicing everything
I
up. bro.
know, just slicing up. I can understand. Your disdainment for Europa. Hey, I know I'll be clipped up. I was clipped up earlier, but I'll be clipped up again. I don't care. About my statement that I believe that truthfully, out of the four, it's all dependent upon the draws. But I believe that out of the four clubs going and representing the Premier League in Champions League, three of them might possibly be in Europa with us. So, and that's me saying 3 out of 4 teams I think will end up being in Europa with us. Okay. So, yeah, I can understand your parts and points. I get the banter that goes along with people singing the Europa song. You know, how many
Arsenal going to be
sing?
there. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Mark my words. Arsenal going to be joining us in Europa.
Yeah. All dependent upon the draws. If they get an easy draw, you know, in an easy group, different story. But I think that 3 of those 4 teams, minus obviously City will advance, but I believe that 3 out of those 4 teams will be in Europa. And I'm just saying that because one is either experience of being in the Champions League or just the experience of the fact that those teams that they're going to be facing in Champions League are exceptional. And it's going to be another level, again, what we were talking about earlier about, you know, having games on the books. Now, all of a sudden, Arsenal's going to have to play more matches. You know, you have your Newcastle all of a sudden having to play more matches, you know, and still trying to like juggle the confines of FA Cup and the League Cup and the such. That's going to be difficult. It's going to be a difficult process. And I think that that's going to find them right in the confines of the Europa.
I think with all of these Arsenal and even Newcastle, they don't. I know what you guys were talking about earlier on in terms of the league and the drop off and the teams that, you know, it's prioritizing. To be fair, I think with Liverpool, our season this season, we need to integrate this new midfield. If we're getting an extra 2 players on top of McAllister or Trent in there, we need to just get them used to playing in midfield. We need to give players like your Ben Dokes and your Bobby Clarks and stuff like that an opportunity this year. If we're not going to spend money,
I think we will.
Yeah, we definitely need to. I want to be seeing Ben Doak play a lot more. You know what I mean? I want to see Harvey Elliott playing on the right. Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. This is what I want to see next season now. I mean, all right, if we want to go along just the bragging rights of our manager, he hasn't won the Europa Cup, yeah? This is his opportunity to win it. He's won. If he wins it, great. That's that. All right, it takes us into the Champions League next season, irrespectively. And we just need to, you know, if we're just going to get these midfielders in, then you know what? It's important to get them playing. And yeah, I mean, just integrate more players in, because the thing is, we've had this issue with our academy for a long time. We're not bringing in players and stuff like that. But do you know something? When you look at Ben Doak, all right, Ben Doak, for me, he just reminds me of Owen. All right, in the sense of like, this guy is just like, he just runs, man, just runs. He's not afraid and stuff. And to be fair, if we Michael
make
Owen,
sure.
in terms of the no fear factor, obviously
Okay.
he's not as great as as Michael Owen, but the no fear factor. I don't care who you are. I'm
It's all
going to
good.
sting you,
I said
bro.
El Nino earlier, so it's all good. I just want
Oh,
to make
fair
sure.
enough. Yeah, and listen, done Michael Owen anyway. Yeah, you know I don't like Michael Owen. I'm just
Let's
talking
not do
about.
that. Let's not
No,
go there.
I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it, bro.
It's
You know
all
what I
good.
mean? It
It's
is what it is,
therapy.
man.
I got you. I got you.
However, we need to bring some of these guys in, because the thing is, you can only be as good as your academy is. But then when you have to step up, you're going to have to step up with players and give them that opportunity. Like how, for example, Nunes, you might say he's not up to the levels, yeah. But if he's playing with senior players day in, day out and stuff like that, he'll get a little bit better. Maybe not perfect, but you know what? He'll be better. And someone like Ben Doak, Bobby Clark, you know, these players, they need to be integrated into the team. Absolutely.
I think I see that.
That's why Europa is important.
Europa's big. Europa's
Yeah.
like giving them. Europa will be a chance for them to play European football, but not on such a
Golden as
huge,
well.
huge stage
Absolutely.
as the Champions League. It's like you're getting that experience, but it's kind of like, you know, you're not in the deep end, but you're in the pool. Okay.
Yeah.
At least you're in the pool.
Yeah, it's important though. I mean, the thing is, when I mention Ben Doak and guys like that, yeah, it's not. These are the creme of the cremes that of our youth team I'm talking about. I don't want just any average, you know, player playing there for sure, because we still need to. I don't know when this Legends thing kicks in. Is it the end of next season?
Yeah, the year after. Yeah.
The year. Oh, is it the year after? Okay, so that means we still need to, like, you know, get top 4 or win the trophy
Top
to get
5.
in.
No, top 5. It's top 5 is
Top
next
5.
year. You need top 5 for top 5 performance next year. It gets you into Champions League.
Okay, well then,
And
yeah,
we're gonna get in there anyway, because we're gonna have a Europa title.
that's if we win it.
12 man.
I didn't say it.
What?
But anyway.
One final thing for next season.
Yeah.
And this is mainly for you and Kouassi. Is
Mhm.
you're
And
going to find
yeah,
out. You're going to find out next season. We only have one world class player left, and we all know who that one world class player is.
Ali.
I'll just leave it to that. You'll find out. There's only one left in our team, only one,
Okay.
and that's why we're not going to succeed as the way you guys think we will.
But you don't need
Wow.
we don't need that plethora of world-class players. Klopp already showed you. You give me the right players, I can win your teams.
No, you
That's
need
right.
to win
You just
the big
need
trophies.
the right players.
No, to win the big trophies, you need at least 3 or 4.
Madrid has all these world players. They came in third and got beat by Man City.
So,
Yeah, but they won the Champions League the season before.
Yeah, but you said you needed to win. I'm just saying, all we need, especially with Klopp, is the right players, right? Now, I know Bas said earlier he'd rather have us just forget about it till Klopp leaves and then rebuild. The thing is, he doesn't want to leave because he said, I'm not going to leave this mess for the next manager.
Exactly.
You know, so you never know. He might sign a new contract.
So we're gonna be wrapping it up pretty soon. I have one question for the home panel as well. Also, we can begin with Chainsaw, since Chainsaw, despite being Chainsaw, definitely bring a little bit of shade. But I like it. You're my red. So there was something in the chat for you. So one, address this, Chainsaw. I don't know if you do or if you don't.
I do have a channel, but it's not football related, so it's fine. It's fine.
Okay. And this was the question for everyone. Predict the type of starting 11 we will see in week 1. So our first week of Europa, I mean, who knows who will actually be ratted up against, but who would be your starting 11? And then after that, we'll wrap it all up.
I'll just make it quick. I know people are going to be disappointed, but you have to look at it as experience. He's going to go with the team that's tried and tested and eventually fades them off. The only player maybe is McAllister will be one of the starters. And maybe, I think he'll probably be the only one. The front 3 picks itself. Diaz, Gakpo, and Salah.
Does it? Okay. I'm sorry.
Unless
What was your front 3? If everyone's healthy too, keep in mind. Let's just say
Yeah,
everyone's healthy.
everything is healthy. The front three is going to be Salah, Gakpo, and Diaz. The
Okay.
back four picks himself. The goalie
Yeah.
pick himself. The midfield, I think the only new person is going to be McAllister.
And who's he slot in for?
Thiago.
Okay.
But then
Baz,
if
you
we
wanna
have
go?
new players during the match, you're gonna see he's gonna be bringing our new players in. Because you can't just throw
And
the new players
that's
in.
a starting lineup. I mean, that's like a regular season starting lineup. We were just all talking about he's going to put in different, he's allowed to use.
I think what Kwasi's saying, though, I mean, to be fair, that's probably what he's going to do. He's going to wean. Eventually he'll probably wean them off. He'll start off strong, and then wean them off. I think.
Yep.
Me personally, I would see a 50-50 in it. So to be honest with you, I would see that a strongish team, but not weakish, but I'd see, like my goalkeeper. I don't ever want to see Ali in Europa.
Oh no. I was just talking about Premier League. Europa is just going to be the
yes,
kids.
we're talking about Europa. Okay,
we're talking
about
Europa
and we'll
this
come back
one.
around then for Europa's choice.
Yeah,
We're
talking about
the
Premier.
question is for Europa.
Oh no,
Europa?
yeah, absolutely. But I mean,
Europa,
this is for Europa. This question was for Europa.
Yeah,
just the kids. The kids.
Oh, just
all the kids.
Yeah, for me. Yeah, no, not a problem. For me, I'm gonna have your Kelleher. I'm gonna have your Gomez. I'm gonna have your Matip. I'm not sure who's gonna play centre back, but then I'm gonna want to see Tsimikas there. I will probably give McAllister a few games, and the reason is just to get himself playing in the team. Do you know what I mean? Just getting used to the system and stuff like that. So McAllister, I'd like to see either Harvey Elliott or Ben Doak on the right. Again, I'm not sure what happens in terms of midfield. I mean, even like if we do get like a Thuram, again, like maybe play him a little just to get him into it, but then start taking him off, because we need him, you know what I mean? It's just going to be more of a youthful team, you know what I mean? And more of an opportunity team. Like a Jota, for example, I know Nunez is going to be either Gakpo or Nunez for the false number 9. So I'd put a Jota in there, for example. So I don't know. Depending on what I don't want to like speculate hugely because until the summer window's over, I'm not sure what we're bringing in. But if you get what I mean, you can see what I'm trying to get at here. I'm just going to have maybe 1 or 2 A-grade players that are going to be playing based on just getting yourselves used to the system and stuff like that. And then the rest of them will be fringe players. You know what I mean? Like mixed with the fringe and the academy.
How about for you, Chainsaw?
So I'll do it like this. I'll do the Premier League and Europa League side by side. So obviously Ali's the Premier League. Kelleher is Europa League. Right back will be Trent Premier League. Gomez right back for Europa League, unless Calvin Ramsey still plays. I don't know if he's still.
He's on loan. He's on loan.
Okay, that's fine. Then it's Joe Gomez. Then the main centre backs, are obviously Konate and Van Dijk at the moment. But for Europa League will be Matip and who's the other guy?
Nat.
But I don't know. Both of them are probably going to leave, so I don't know if they will still be there. But whoever's the other, backup centre backs will play there. Tsimikas for Europa League, Robbo for Premier League, DM Fabinho for Europa League, and hopefully we get Thuram or someone new for DM. I don't know who would be DM for us actually.
Basetic?
Yeah, him. Put him there for Premier League, and then Fabinho Europa League. Thiago, I think, is Europa League. I think Curtis Jones is Europa League. I think our main ones will be Mac 10 and the new player Thuram will be the main Premier League ones for me personally. Henderson does not get Europa League or Premier League in my opinion. He gets League Cup and FA Cup for him.
You better hope Savage isn't watching this.
And then obviously Salah's right wing for Premier League. You can put Elliott there, but hopefully we get someone new as well for that role. But at the moment, Elliott Europa League, Salah Premier League, striker, Gakpo Premier League, Nunez Europa League, and left wing Jota Europa League, and Diaz Premier League.
Okay.
It's good. It's good. It's
That's
good.
good. Yes, that's and with that, those are some really tough line. I mean, listen to those lineups. You would think that we could go deep into Europa, and hearing those lineups again, considering that Quasi gave us his Premier League lineup as well. You could honestly say that if we're going to do rotation like that, if we're going to show some type of rotation that allows for these players to not be so rinsed, and worn out, what's to say we can't make a run for like the FA Cup this year, or make a run for for even the league possibly, considering that we're going to have, I had you for a little bit, Kiesel, but if we can do that and have the legs to get across the line and going against teams that are getting their legs pretty worn out, we could see some real change in our success.
I think we've been fussy. To be fair, over the last few years, we've kind of prioritized Champions League and Premier League over FA Cup and Carling Cup and Carabao Cup or whatever. And we listen, as far as I'm concerned, only the year that we were going for the quad, we took it a little bit more seriously. Do you know what I mean? We can't be fussy right now. Right now, Premier League, we ain't winning. Champions League, we ain't winning. All right? That's just realistic. So any other thing that we can realistically come, we need to go in strong.
I think we can go. That's my point of why I'm saying what I said. I know you got. I mean, notice I didn't put the Europa quad,
Yeah.
but all the same, I'm not withering away from it. I have ambition. How about that? I have ambition, people. But but you got to at least admit that by us not having the confines of having the stress of what we've had the last couple of seasons, that has really worn us thin. We have a sizable chance. I don't want to put us as being the front runners or being like the locks to win anything per se, but I think that we definitely are in that box of favorites when it comes to Europa. If you look at the Europa, I don't know if you looked at it, and again, we're going to land now, but if you look at how they have the tiers for Europa, and they have the pools. They have like Pool A, Pool B, Pool C, Pool D, and all the pools are distinguished upon if you were in the Champions League last year, or how you did, if you won your league, or all these different little things that depend on where you get into the pool, and they give you like a certain number rating behind it. If you look at, let me see if I can pull it up real quick. If you look at the poll or our rating, we're at like 100, and I'll say 23 or 100 and some super high number. We're in the 3 digits. But then you look at all the other people that are in the Europa, and they're all like at like 60s or 70s, or 50s, and that's because like the algorithm that they use is saying that we are certainly the favorites in this tournament, I believe, and I think that we can win this thing, man. I think it's going to be next year is going to be a fun year in that we're not going to have the pressure of Champions League, but we're also going to have, it is going to be pressure on us to win the Europa, because it's something that I do not see us not being able to win, much less it is definitely something that we have to definitively win. And that's what I think and it's based on the coefficient, as Mark A said. That's correct. So yeah, I think that we have a serious chance at next year of making a run in the league, which will be exceptional, because we're not going to have any Saturday morning, noonday kickoffs. That really that was a major problem for us this year or last year. We're gonna see something different. But hey, let's just give a shout out to your channels. Quasi, you want to give a shout out for your channel?
Yes, Questable TV. I'm still on hiatus. I'll be back soon. I know Handsman is out here driving the truck over my ribs, but I shall be back. Thank you so much, 12 men, and shout out to my two panelists, Chainsaw and Bass.
For sure.
Big up.
Baz, you want to give a shout out for your channel? And
Yeah, 12 man. It's always love. You know how it goes with me and
yeah,
you.
absolutely.
You know what I mean? But keep it up, guys, and make sure you smash the like, commenting, subscribing, do all that stuff. Brilliant show. Big up you too as well. Chainsaw, it's a pleasure meeting you. Quasi, brother, as always, you know, it's always a
Thank
pleasure.
you. Yes, sir.
You can find me on my channel, LVFC TV. I am doing some real random shows at the minute, to be fair, all vampire times and all sorts of stuff. Just doing my own kind of therapy with a couple of the mandem and stuff like that. So long as you just like hit the icon, the bell icon, you'll find me live somewhere doing something. And otherwise, you can find me on most of the other Liverpool content creators, man. But big up everybody. Make sure you smash a like before you leave.
And Chainsaw, I know you said your channel is not directly related to football, but all the same, plug it. And
yeah, it's just Chainsaw DH. But it's just an anime one. But you know, if you're not into it, that's fine. But the thing is, Kwasi's channel and Baz's channel, I think I've already, because I normally subscribe to every Liverpool fan channel thing.
Mine's just LVFC TV.
Yeah, I'm just going on it right now to subscribe. But normally I'm already subscribed, so that should be fine. And obviously, big up both of you. It's a pleasure to speak to both of you. I think it's the first time. So yeah, I enjoyed this. Big up 12 man as well.
Yeah. Hey,
even though I disagree with a lot of things, but you know.
Yeah, no, but you can tell there's a difference. I mean, I just wanted, I heard a couple of different channels, and I saw the back and forth, and I saw a lot of
people are way too negative right now.
Yeah, like a lot of negativity upon. And one thing I get slotted for a lot is like, oh, you're a positive person, you're positive, you're bringing positive aspect, you're bringing a positive angle to it. Hey, life is a lot more enjoyable from a positive perspective than the negative perspective.
But it's less painful when you're prepared for the worst.
Yeah, hey, I agree. Yes, prepare for the worst, but expect the best is the proverb that I hold. And I'd like to say thank you to everyone that participated in the chat. Big ups to the panel, of course. Definitely go and subscribe. I can't stress this enough. If you're a red and you see another red with a channel, or just subscribe, hit the like button, share the content with others, so that we continue to grow the community. And not only that, but show that we have a real strong base when it comes to our viewership, our fan base. Those things are important to me. I think that it's one thing for, we watched FSG take a $400 million investment turn to a $4 billion investment. Well, let's, as fans, invest in ourselves. Let's invest in our fellow fans, our fellow supporters, and let's bring their $400 million investment or $400 million investment on YouTube into a $4 billion investment if we can. And that takes all of us pressing that subscribe, that like, and that share.
Exactly. And Kwasi, you're one away from 100. So subscribe to Kwasi. Get him to 100.
Almost there. Almost there, people. Please help a brother out.
Yeah, for sure.
I just checked. So,
I get to 100, I will be forced to do a live streaming.
Should be doing a live streaming perspective, mate.
I know. That's Ensman. That's Ensman saying exactly what you said.
That's what he did with me. That's what he did with me, and then we did the same thing to 12th man. And when I saw 12th man live, I was like, huh? What? Nah.
He's like, yeah. It's just something. I've done one before this. It was a lot more like it was on Nunez, so Chainsaw was there for some of that. So it was fun, but this was enjoyable as well. It was more enjoyable because I got to, interact with a lot of. I'm so happy that when we all gather as brethren and I'm able to communicate and be able to do it in a respectful way, and as respectful as we can, at least, And if it wasn't for the chat, like Philip, Mark A, Jean Gray, Enz was in the chat. I saw that earlier. no, I'm missing some people. Bejan Pops was in the chat. You know,
Shout out to them, man.
Yeah,
They're always supporting.
They're always supporting. I mean, the people like that. Stefano was in there. People like that are important, you know, to have a part of this emergence, this evolution that we're going through as content creators. So I appreciate Philip. You know, I appreciate all you guys. Statman Stubbs, obviously. I appreciate everyone, and thank you for this great show.
Before we
start
go,
doing this routinely.
So before you go, Quasi, I've got my burners out, and I'm your 100th subscriber. For that, I'm expecting that show tomorrow.
Pressure.
There you go.
Pressure.
For sure. We got my day. Okay,
thank you.
Congratulations to Quasi hitting the century mark of subscribers. Hope to follow soon. I hope to follow soon in his steps. But thank you again for the panel, and thank you for tuning in. This has been Therapy Session, and I hope that everyone has a beautiful, beautiful day. See you soon.
See you guys.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace.